Hello, everybody. So apparently, according to our screen, we're live, which is awesome. And I've noticed that we've already had a comment, which is great. So hi, Aaron. I'll put the comment actually because I'm just talking about the comment. Might as well actually put it up. So
Right.
hi, Aaron. So I've got Shawn here. Shawn is Standfast. I'm sure you know Shawn's channel. And it's really nice to have Shawn here. And I'll tell you why it's very special to have Shawn here in a second, because I want to talk about this series that I've been doing. Although when I say I've been doing it, there's been a big gap. So this is the fourth time I've done this, and I did three in a relatively short clump that I thought I was going to do regularly, but then there was this big gap. And the reason why there was a gap is a really stupid reason, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But basically, ages ago, when was it? About a couple of years ago, we started the Desert Island books.
Yeah, it must be two and a half years ago, maybe three.
Yeah, so either 3 or 2.5 years ago, something like that. Shawn started a really good series of videos called Desert Island Books, and I was on one of them. It was a really brilliant experience, and all of them have been really interesting. I've seen all of them, and he started a new series of those now as live streams as well. So I definitely encourage you to watch those. But they inspired me to start a Desert Island Flicks series where people talk about their favorite films rather than their favorite books, and obviously some people, I think Mark, the first person to do it, Mark from Book Time with Elvis, he was the first one to do it. I think he was talking about the technicalities of having a screen on the desert island and all. I was just like, just run with it, man. But that was funny. But yeah, so Shawn inspired the series. So it was really nice that I thought I'd get back into it, start it again, because I think it's a really lovely idea talking about films, because films are awesome. And I wanted Shawn to be the guest as I bring it back on again because he inspired the whole thing. So yeah, so I had Mark from Book Time with Elvis as the first guest, and then I had Nick from another BookTube channel who's a graduate of film. So he studied film in university. So that was the second guest, and then the third guest was Jack from Spread Book Joy, and it felt like I was just talking to myself. It was amazing. Her choices were like exactly like mine, and we were chatting away about all these different things we loved, and I think we talked for ages about Labyrinth. And it's just it's all three have been quite different. I know today's one is going to be very different because of Shawn's general taste in stuff, and his choices are different, and everything about it was going to be awesome. So hopefully it will spark an interesting chat in the chat. So I've got a. I'll say hello to the comments in a second. So yeah, this is the fourth one, and we'll get on to Shawn's choices in a minute. I'll tell you what. Do you think? I'm sure everyone knows you, but do you want to say something about your channel?
Well, I think this is January was the fifth year of my channel, and
Awesome.
it's gone through sort of several phases as I have over the 5 years, and I'm just do a variety of things. Sometimes I do some film videos, but it's mostly books and more recently more live with other people discussing a lot of science fiction at the moment, and yeah, just discussing the books that we're reading and getting a discussion going on those.
Yeah, you did a couple of film book comparisons, didn't you?
Yeah, I did that for a little while. Yeah, book to film, and that seemed to have been popular. And I've been asked to bring that back, and I probably will once I've. It's a year, almost a year and a half since I moved here, but I'm still not sorted.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Wow,
it's getting close to that, I think.
that's
And
mad.
I
So a year and a
and
half
I
since we met, because we met, didn't
yeah
we?
yeah
That was awesome. Yeah. Wow, a year and a half. That's crazy. Yeah, it was it the summer time? Was it sort of June-ish, June, July-ish?
yeah something like that. Yeah, because I was getting sort of ready, and then I moved in November at the beginning of
Yeah,
November.
yeah. So we were packing, weren't we,
2023.
around that time?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, I'm glad you settled on that. I mean, I know where there's stuff going on. We're trying to get the disability allowance and that, aren't you? Um, but yeah, you seem like you're happier with where your books are and stuff.
Yeah, it's just smaller than I expected, so I have to make a lot of decisions of to get rid of some stuff in order to not have piles everywhere. So I have to declutter, I guess, is the terminology.
Yeah. Right. So Gavin's here. So hi, Gavin.
I got
You will be soon, my friend. He's a little bit of an expert on lots of things, and it'll be interesting to see what he chooses. But yeah, I've had him on my radar as well. When we first started doing the Desert Island stuff, Gavin wasn't around, was he? He's quite a
no,
new
he
channel.
wasn't. No.
So that's pretty cool. So, and Pat's here. Hi, Pat.
Hi, Pat.
Awesome. Heidi. Yeah, so Heidi said she'd choose the original Planet of the Apes and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I can relate to that. Mike K. Vaughan, Mike said that on one of his channels, on one of his videos, he said that Planet of the Apes was his favorite franchise. And I haven't even considered it a franchise, and I think it's probably is mine as well. The only one I don't like is the Tim Burton one, which is ironic because I love Tim Burton, but I think his Planet of the Apes is dodgy. But I love all the
Yeah, I've
others.
not seen any of those, the Tim Burton one or any of them after. I do want to see them eventually, but I just haven't been able to.
The new ones are so good. There's been 4 since the Tim Burton one, 3 Matt Reeves one, and 1 from a new guy. I can't remember the new guy's name, but the last one that came out last year was so good. Aaron says hi. Blah blah blah. Lots of people saying hi. I've started. Oh, okay. Pat started Weird Sisters. Hopefully she likes that. I'm a Pratchett fan. You've probably even never read Terry Pratchett, have you?
I think I've read some stuff. Like, if he's done some short stories, I'm sure I read something in an anthology at some point, but I
don't know.
Not a novel. But I've heard some of his that's been turned into radio plays. I've heard some stuff.
Oh yeah, he's done.
And
That's
it's
probably
okay.
happened.
Yeah.
So yes. So hold on. That's Weird Sisters. Love Letter to Theatre and Nature. I think that's one I haven't read actually. I read because Weird Sisters is one of the witches ones. I read Equal Rights. Don't know if I've read Weird Sisters. That's cool. So Pat's loving Terry Pratchett. That's good. Right, yeah. So there we go. Caught up with.
Oh, you're. I can barely hear you now.
Oh really?
Gareth, for some reason.
Oh, that's a bit of a worry.
Oh, that's better.
Oh, is it better?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I did anything. Okay, that's a little bit ominous. Never mind. You're going to be doing most of the talking once you get going, so I don't have to talk much. But you can hear me all right now, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So before we go on to the 10 choices that Shawn's made, let's talk about just going to the cinema. So my last time, I'm about to book a they do these theatre live things now where you pay a little bit extra and you can see a theatre show at a cinema.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I'm going to see this new version of Doctor Strangelove. So I'm going to book it soon. I just put up a thing on Facebook saying who wants to go with me. And Steve Coogan's playing the Peter Sellers parts, so that looks really interesting. So I'm going to do that. But the last time I went was the Bob Dylan film, Complete Unknown, and that was really good. I was really impressed with it, and I thought it was really weird watching Edward Norton as Pete Seeger because literally it looked like I was just watching Pete Seeger. It was such an exact performance. So yeah, I thought that was really good. So tell me about your recent visit to the cinema. You were talking about.
Yeah.
Go on,
well,
tell me about.
Like, there's two ways you could look at it. For first run films that were coming out, the last time I was to the cinema was to watch Gosford Park, which is like 2002 or 2003. I can't remember the exact date. And then since I came to the UK, I have not gone to a cinema to watch anything like that. I've only been to silent film festivals, and the last wasn't a festival, but it was a showing of the 1924 Les Miserables at the Barbican, and so that's the last time I've been to a cinema, and that was like I think 4.5 hours or 5 hours with live accompaniment.
Yeah. So was that with a live pianist?
Yes, Neil Brand, and it
No,
was
oh, Neil
really, really
Brand.
good.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So I one of your choices. I'll say it when you get to the choice. But one of your choices I've seen live with a live pianist. Like I saw it in the cinema with a, like, so that was an awesome experience. So we'll get. I don't know if you can guess which one it was, but we'll get to that later. But you said you liked going to silent film festivals. Is that right?
yeah. Well, it was the British Silent Film Festival that I used to go to every year, but then they stopped doing it. Then they brought it back for a little bit, and I never got to Perdone, which was in Italy. That's a huge silent film festival every sort of September. It's like 9 days, I think, or something like that of silent film, and I've just never been able to get to it. I did
Uh,
I did uh, book everything for it the one time, and that's when I got shingles the second time, so I couldn't go.
yeah. And then you've had to deal with quite a lot of health things more recently, so it's not necessarily that easy, is it, for you to
Yeah.
go out whenever
Eh,
you want?
yeah, and I definitely can't go anywhere now. So
Yeah. Um, cool. Right. So we haven't had any more comments yet. So feel free to chat when, if you want to bounce off something that Shawn said. But let's get to your choices. So
okay.
uh, I'll get my.
Yeah, well, I guess I want to preface it all by saying like it's very difficult to choose 10 films. There's probably about 100 films that I could continually rewatch. I sort of figure, maybe not
Yeah.
that many, but definitely close to 100. So how do you get that down to 10? So I
It's
thought,
hard.
yeah, and so I thought, well, maybe pick one from like a type of film that I really
Yeah.
like, I don't have comedy on here well, I sort of do. We'll get to that. But yeah, so I picked a representative film for each sort of area in my mind to a certain extent. And because silent film is so big, that's a big representation. But there's two that I kept sort of thinking that I should have in or not. So I'd like to use them as sort of honorable mentions.
Yeah.
And also thinking of sort of a desert island, um, to sort of complement maybe the desert island books as well. But this would have been it's Orson Welles' 1948 Macbeth that
Oh
he
wow.
directed and starred in, and I just find it just absolutely wonderful. I can watch it over and over. It's a visual feast. It's so good. It's not perfect to the text, but I really really enjoy it, and I can watch it over and over again. And you mentioned the original Planet of the Apes. Roddy McDowell is on here.
Oh
Yeah,
really? He's in
very
that.
young
That's
Roddy
cool. A very
McDowell.
young Roddy Brother. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do love Macbeth, and the one that I know is the Roman Polanski version with Martin
that's good
Shaw.
too. Yeah, that one I like as well. But I don't know. This one is just a visual feast. It's so good. It's because he was young and he had a lot of spunk and he just sort of did what he wanted to do, and it really really worked.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's cool. I need to look that up.
and,
I'm
and that
sure I can see it somewhere.
sorry
Go on.
that would have been my sort of selection for sort of a literature type thing, and that's what I was sort of thinking of. But I bumped it, and then the next one, because I don't know if some people know that I'm a huge fan of ghost stories. So
Yes.
I sort of thought, well, let's get a ghost story film on here, and there was two that I was playing with, but the one that I would choose would be The Innocents, 1961, directed by Jack Clayton,
Oh,
Deborah
okay.
Carr, Michael
I don't know that.
Redgrave. Yeah, and
Okay.
it's not particularly. You could argue it's not a ghost film. There's no ghosts in it. It's very ambiguous. It's based on the Henry James 1898 novella Turn of the Screw, which is
Ah,
also a fabulous story because it's
yeah,
ambiguous. You really don't know what's going on.
yeah.
And like I say, Michael Redgrave is on there as well. Has a small part at the beginning, and he'll pop up a bit later. as well in another film. There's connections, strange, not strange, but there's some connections between all the films.
Yeah. I mean, I think what happens as well when you choose 10 films like this, there are a few in there that are going to have your favorite actors as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
So that you can talk about that as well. That's cool.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. So we're going to get to the 10 in a second, but we've got a couple of, we've got Heidi's just written no Animal House.
No,
So-
well, see, the thing is, you will notice there's no films in the last 50 years in here, because
That's really modern, isn't it? Animal House is very modern for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I love Animal House though. I do love it. But I'm thinking of something that I would want to rewatch over and over. And I can only think of one or two in the last 50 or 60 years that I would actually really want to watch over and over. Sadly, Animal House wouldn't be one. But the one that comes to mind would be Train Spotting. Is about the only other one. But
wow.
I don't think I'd want to sit and rewatch Train Spotting all the time, because I might get a little depressed after a while.
It's a bit depressing.
I don't have any drugs to keep me off the island.
Yeah, but amazing performances.
Oh yeah.
That's an interesting choice. Okay, so Pat says The Innocents. Yes, Ten of the Screw, brilliant novella.
Yeah. Oh, it's fabulous, because I love ghost stories, but there's only a few that are real. The Uninvited is the other one that I was going to think of with Ray Milland. That's a real ghost story. There's a real ghost, and well, when I say real ghost, it's not an iffy ghost. Most of the time, ghost story movies are always, it's like the Scooby-Doo thing where, Farmer Brown, is doing this,
Then reveal the
yeah.
I read a really interesting ghost story last Horror Mayhem. So there was some themes, and one of the themes was a local author. And I read, because there was a connection to Portsmouth, I read an Arthur Conan Doyle story, and it was a ghost story, and it was about, but it wasn't a ghost. It was someone trying to prove that there was a ghost. It was a really good story, and that was like 1898 or something. That was really cool. Right. Okay. So Pat says, I reread Turner and Screw before Christmas.
Yeah, it's something that and I don't know why it took me so long to read this, to read it, and I only read it about 4 years ago, and I just don't know why I took so long to read it. It's now become like a perennial reread for me, because there's so much in it, because you can read it as a ghost story, then you read it as something else, like a psychological thing. You read it in a different way, and it's all works. They all work on all those. There's about 4 or 5 levels that you can read it on, and it just all works.
I read it about 30 years ago, so I don't remember it that well, but I remember it's quite a powerful read. Yeah. Heidi says Wrath of Khan.
Well, out of all the Star Trek films, that's the one I like the best. Anyway,
that's an amazing film. Yeah, no, that would be. I don't know if it would be my 10, but it'll be up there. I love it, absolutely love it.
Sadly, there's no Babylon 5. Cinematic production.
The TV, the TV thing. They quickly sneak up your complete Babylon 5 collection onto the boat. There's no harm in mentioning Babylon 5, right? Even if it's not.
Well, once Star Trek is said, I have to say Babylon 5.
You got to even the balance.
Yes.
I read Wrath of Khan for Book Trek. Oh yeah, the novelization. I've got the novelization. Apparently, novelization is really good.
That's what I hear. Yeah, I've not read it.
But... the movie is really. The movie's amazing. And yeah, Ricardo Montalban he eats the scenery, doesn't he? He's brilliant.
Yeah.
And he recites Shakespeare in the film, didn't he?
Well, and Moby Dick as well.
That's right. Yeah,
a few bits from Moby Dick as well.
It's such a great film. Shuffleboil. I can't say it properly. One film in the past 60 years. At least I feel young. I feel young. Vonda McIntyre wrote it. Yeah, that's it. I like her a lot. Yeah, she's written a lot of Star Trek stuff.
And she's written some Babylon 5 novelizations as well, I think.
Yes, she has. Yeah, yeah. This is an interesting one. Look, so there. I think I know the answer to this, but do you want to say anything about Hitchcock yet?
Not yet.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
save that.
Oh, oh, this is very what he's teasing there. Why is he not saying it now?
Well, it's the Michael Grave connection. If people
Oh
can
yeah.
figure that one out.
All right, brilliant. So yeah, we caught up comments. So let's pick your first film.
Okay, we're going back to 1923 with Abel Gantz's LaRue, The Wheel, and it's
Right.
almost 7 hours.
Wow.
And this is a
I didn't
French
know that.
version of it. It's it's directed by, as I say, Abel Gance, and it's basically about a train engineer who saves a baby after a train wreck. Her parents are killed, and he raises her with his son. And it gets a little strange for these days because her foster brother, I guess, falls in love with her, and the foster father actually winds up falling in love with her as well. So
Okay.
there's a separation of the family and all this,
Wow.
but the thing is, it's so good because it's the whole idea of the wheel turning like through time and wheel crushing things, and he uses that symbolization throughout. That's not even a word, but anyway, symbolism throughout the film, and he uses a lot of, as intertitles, quotes from all sorts of writers like Kipling, everyone, like literature, just anything to do with sort of that motion of the wheel. And then there's also always the idea of the train thing, and it goes through the life, and then there's reconciliation at the end. It's just a beautiful film,
So
and
is it frequently cut to the train wheels kind of thing, like between
they will
scenes?
occasionally, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's a French film, but Ivy Close, who's the young girl in there, is an English actress, so she was a popular English actress, which at that time she didn't need to speak French, because it's a silent film.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's amazing. So it's quite a philosophical film.
in many ways, yeah, yeah. Like I say, it has a bit of a creepy aspect to it because of this, but it's not, there's nothing fulfilled in all this. It's just, he
Right.
realizes that, this is happening, and he distances himself from
Oh,
his
okay.
daughter. You know,
Well, how old is she when he realizes it?
she's 20 or whatever. She's
Oh,
in her
right. So
teens, like
that's
she's an
yeah.
adult.
So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, obviously open for debate, but it's not the
yeah,
same as if like Lolita or something.
yeah, yeah. No,
But
no.
yeah, yeah. That's really cool. So 7 hours. So you got quite a lot of screen time there as well, which is quite cool. Which is
Yes,
you,
that was the other thing. So I guess the thing is, because I love silent film so much, and I love classic film, so I definitely split this up to 5 silents and 5 sound films
right.
for that. So,
Do you feel
and
like go on?
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you feel like there's a particular magic about a film communicating a story well without words?
Definitely, because it's a different way of experiencing things. It's like you can read the book, because we'll get the next one. You can read the book, experience it that way. Then you watch a film, and if you watch it in silent film, you experience in a certain way. And then if they did it in a sound film, you'll experience it another way. And even if the director was really good, if they do a colored version of it, not colorization, but somebody does a color, you experience it differently again, and then you experience it differently watching a theater play, and then or on the radio. Like there's different ways, different levels, and the interpretations of the story, I think, are multifaceted, because there's certain things obviously you can do on the page that you can't do on the screen, and that's the great thing of The Innocents. There's so many things in the story that you cannot do in film. So what Truman Capote did, he took a different tact, but he gets the same feeling across by doing something visually. It's not the same as the film. It's very different. I mean, very different from the
Yeah,
story, but it fills that gap. It fills that hole. And
yeah,
that, to
yeah.
me, this is one of the best screenplays of any film. I think it's because of that, because he does it so well,
Yeah.
And then there's other people that were in on it, John Mortimer, and there's a fabulous line that I think it's probably from John Mortimer. It says they used bedrooms in the day like the night in the forest or something like that. It says so much. You don't have to say they're having sex in the room. That clears it. That clears it up.
Yeah, no, but you're right that it's a different medium, so you have to.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to, but it's nice if the director is thinking of different ways to communicate the imagery and the maybe the scene changes and the angles where how the director will force you to look at a scene in a certain way.
Yeah.
All those different things make up the film experience that's totally different from words on a page.
Yeah, and some just leave stuff out. Like they don't do certain levels, rather
Yeah,
than saying, well, you can't really do that on the screen, so let's do something else that complements that, or it's
yeah,
the same level. And
yeah,
that's where there's a lot of films I dislike, because they just do the surface story and they leave everything else out. And
yeah.
if you want to go to science fiction, the recent Dune, or most of the Dune ones, have been that way. Like they just do a cursory surface story,
Just the
and
plot.
they leave everything. Yeah, they just leave everything else out. Where, at least, as much as I hate the John Lynch, or John Lynch,
David
no,
Lynch.
David Lynch, 1980s film. At least he tried. At least he
Yeah,
tried to
yeah.
do some things.
There
That's
was more of
one
an
thing.
attempt to do the philosophical
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, well, but again, the recent ones are very visual, so
yeah,
it's like he was kind of concentrating on that and the plot,
yeah,
wasn't it? But yeah,
yeah,
yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. So that was the Rue, 1923.
yeah.
What's your second choice?
1924 with Greed. Eric von Stroheim. He was a fabulous sort of silent film actor and director, but usually he just went overboard. He would he would like hire in one. I can't remember. Was it? Can't remember the name of the film, but he ordered a handmade underwear of the period for everybody that was in the film, even the extras. So it's just, the cost just would rise, and the studios usually would just take the film away. Like this one, they took it away from him and butchered it.
Right.
And this is based on the 1899, I think. Do I have it written down here? Yeah, 1899 McTeague by Frank Norris. And he uses greed because that's what it is. It's about greed. And people have said that he filmed every scene that's in the book except one, something to do with a dog, which
Oh,
is and isn't true. Because
okay.
he interprets things a little bit. It's set in San Francisco. It's about a dentist who gets kind of crazy over money and gold and all sorts of stuff. So there's lots of revenge, and it stars Zazu Pitts, Gibson Gowland. You may know Zazu Pitts because I think the Thelma Todd, Hell
Thelma
Road.
Todd, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
they were duo, right?
yeah. Lauren Hardy, female
Yeah,
Lauren Hardy.
yeah.
Um, Later, but Eric von Stroheim saw her as a dramatic actress, and he did well with that, but nobody else could get that from her. It was only comedy, so she just didn't do anything else after a while.
Was it nobody else gave her that chance? I think.
Well, they tried, but they didn't know what to do with her. They didn't know how to bring those things out.
Okay.
It's like there's a scene where she gets greedy, like she's penny pinching, and she buys gold coins, and she takes all these gold coins and throws them on the bed, and then takes off all her clothes and rolls around in them naked. And Eric von Stroheim, she didn't know how to play this scene, and he says, "Okay, just pretend that you're having an orgasm. That's what I want. And she says, well, what's that? So, but he coached her and, got a really good performance out of her. And his original cut could have been about 11 hours.
Wow. So what cut is that? When you said they butchered it, how long is that?
Well, this is a reconstruction as best as possible. It was only brought out on VHS. Somebody has taken this, I think, from a TV thing and made a DVD out of it. So it hasn't been released properly. This restoration, which is, did I write it down? Oh, I can't remember now. It's about 4 hours, I think, this version.
Okay.
But
Awesome.
the original that they cut it down was only like 2 hours and something, and they really destroyed it. They really destroyed it because it's nonsensical in places. And then the way they did it here was that they had a lot of stills, so they used the stills with a lot of intertitles and description of what's happening,
Okay.
and then so it actually works, and it still works, but obviously it's not complete. There's still hopes that the original material is out there somewhere. Kevin Bronlau has suggested that it could be in Cuba because there's stuff in Cuba that nobody's looked at yet.
Okay.
Because they keep finding stuff like they found in Argentina, the extra bits for Metropolis. There's all sorts of stuff. And, Nosferatu, Kevin Bronlau found stuff in a Czech archive, and added stuff to it. So they're always finding stuff. And we'll get to another thing about that in a little bit as well. But yeah, it's just fantastic, and I just love that poster. It's just so great.
It's awesome poster.
Yeah,
I've got to say, I absolutely love the fact that you're showing the physical DVDs as well.
yeah. Well, that's the only DVD. The rest are Blu-rays.
Yeah. No, Blu-rays is preferable. Yeah, because I started getting Blu-rays again when I realized that the streaming services aren't enough anyway. I've always been a defender of physical media anyway, but it's just nice to. I mean, like you, I'm sure you love the extras, right? The commentaries and all that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big selling point anyway. But also the amount of times you'll think, oh, let's see blah blah blah, and then you look for all the things you've got and you can't find it. It's just these streaming services don't have everything.
Yeah.
So I do think it's good to have it yourself, to buy the material yourself.
Yeah, you'll never find this stuff on streaming services in general.
No.
And this one definitely is. It was done, I think, 2011 ish. I think no, maybe it been earlier than that. It was reconstructed for, I think, TCM, but it's never been released properly. And this has no extras on it. It's got nothing. It doesn't even have the tinting that they did, because there's certain scenes where there's gold, and he's tinted that gold, like to show the gold.
Okay.
And then blood as well, that's really red, and none of that is in here. Some people don't like it, and some do, but that's the greatness of a Blu-ray. You can watch it with the tinting and the coloring, or watch it just in black and white. But I'm hoping they will. Well, it'd be nice if they actually found the extra footage, and if they could ever reconstruct the 11-hour version. I'm there. I'm watching that.
I'm a bit frustrated by it. I really want. There's at least a dozen special editions that I want to get, and they're like between 40 and 50 quid to get a special edition Blu-ray, and it's just a bit frustrating because you think that's a lot of money. It'd be nice if they.
This was expensive, but I was working at the time, and I got this from France. Because there's nobody here or in the United States has put it out in its complete form. There's a big booklet on here, 100 and some page booklet, but it's in French.
Right.
But going back to Eric von Stroheim, like I say, he's in some great films. He played Rommel and Billy Wilder's Five Graves to Cairo, and he was the butler in Sunset Boulevard with oh, I can't remember his name, but with Gloria Swanson, and that's like, it's a fabulous film noir film.
I've
And
definitely seen him in a couple of things, but I
yeah,
can't think of what I've seen him in.
yeah, and then
He was in a lot.
there's a great like during World War One, they would, they made these propaganda films on both sides. So he played like he played a lot of Teutonic type things, and he was never in the army. He was a great BS. He just always made these tall tales about himself, which never were true. But he played like German soldiers and stuff. And there's a scene. It's a horrific scene, but today it's actually funny in many ways. It's horrific, but it's funny. It's like,
Right.
he comes in as the big Teutonic, German general or something like this, and there's a woman there with the baby, and he picks up the baby in the one hand and throws it out the window over the balcony, and it's just horrific, but it's the way it's done. It's like it's so laughable, but the way he does it, but it's horrific at the same time.
Right, I love it. I'm gonna just go back to comments for a second.
Yep.
So we did Heidi's comment about Hitchcock, and then Aaron says, "Has there ever been a film that was made during the silent era, a director remade as a black and white sound film, and then remade the black and white sound film as a color film?"
Not the third part that I'm aware of, but there's quite a few. John Ford did quite a few things that were silence that he remade. He made the I think it's Three Godfathers with it's like a Christmas movie where the three cowboys find a baby. He remade it as a color, but he also did a silent film. Hitchcock has done a few things. He remade some films, or
Yeah.
sort of. And yeah, there's quite a few. I can't think of the top of my head, but I can't think of anybody who's done all three, but there may very well have been.
There have been the directors that were working in that transitional period.
Yeah.
Because once you've gone with sound and certainly with color, because it's interesting when someone chooses to do a black and white film now, because that's an artistic choice, isn't it, rather than out of necessity, because it does happen. But yeah.
Well, the thing is too, once he got into the 40s and 50s, there were colored films quite a bit. So some of them didn't have the money to do colored films, but some of them they didn't want to do it because you lose a lot of the shadow and the light. The cinematographers, you have to do something different with the color. Wild Bill Wellman. Bill Wellman did something that was a color film, but he did it in two colors. I think it was. He did red and yellow. He did a film. I've never seen it, but I'd like to say because he experimented with that because he started out in the silent era, and then he might have actually remade something, but not all three. But yeah, so there are people that have, they definitely have gone from Fritz Lang definitely did silence, did color sound, and then not colored sound, sound, and then colored films as well at the end of his life.
Yeah, and like you say, Hitchcock did as well. But it's funny because once you get into color, you either like put it flat on the screen and you don't mess around with the art form. But there are people that like I think in the indie world in the 70s and 80s with horror and stuff, there was like lots of playing around with the tones of the colors on the screen as well, wasn't there? Like Dario Argento did that with Suspiria and stuff like that, and John Carpenter, I think a lot of the darkness in Halloween is a lot of the attraction for it. Do you know what I mean? The effectiveness of Halloween is a lot of the shadows and stuff in it. So he was playing around with it, wasn't he?
Yeah. Some do definitely, and that's why to me it's horrifying to have black and white films colorized because it destroys all the cinematography that they worked hard at and lighting the sets. It destroys it.
It's a very shallow. Oh, people don't like black and white films. Let's colorize it. It's like, hold on a minute. That's not the point. Yeah, you're right. It's not really. That's not how they made the film. It's not what the film is about.
Because if they really wanted to, It depends on when it was. Well, even if it was in the silent era, if they wanted to make it color, they could have made a color film.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, there was two color
yeah,
Technicolor, you
yeah,
know, all the way up,
yeah,
and even hand painted. You
yeah.
know, waiting
George
in
Méliès's films were
1900.
color, weren't they?
Exactly, yeah, they were hand
Yeah,
painted. All the
and that,
Pathé, or not all the Pathé, but a lot of the Pathé stuff was.
yeah. Um, okay, so Mick says Eric von Sunset Strip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's hilarious because there's a scene in there because he's playing the butler, chauffeur, and there's a scene or something that he's asked about something, and he said, I was a big director, and they stole it away from me. So it's just like they put he put his own words in his mouth, of him, of having his films taken away from him.
Heidi's got a comment about New York, so I'm going there soon. So I just found out they've got a New York pizza walking tour. Oh, that sounds cool. Nephew's doing it soon. Scott's Pizza. I've heard of Scott's Pizza tours actually. So I've been watching loads of videos about New York. We've only got a few days, and I know, like, my wife wants to go to Little Italy, and the pizza tour is probably there. I don't know, but she's half Italian, so I think we might live in Little Italy. I don't know, but yeah, that's cool. Thanks, Heidi. I'll look that up. Pizza tour. I'm up for pizza. Cool. Right. So that was Greed, your second choice. Let's have your third choice. And this one is the one I saw in the cinema.
Oh, okay. I'd love to see this one. I don't think with a piano though. I would love to see it with full orchestra. That's the way to do it. It's Faust. It's F.W. Murnau's Faust, which is 1926, 26, with Emil Jannings and Carl Hoffman as cinematography. And this is a visual feast for the eye. It's like every scene is like a staged painting. It's just absolutely fabulous. Like all of them are. I think that's the one thing that they really worked on. And F.W. Murnau, this was, I think, his last film before he went to the United States and did Sunrise. But no, it wasn't. No, sorry, no, it wasn't, because Der Listerman, The Last Laugh, I think is, and that has what they call, oh, I forget the cinematographer now, but they did something, an unchained camera, because cameras then were really massive, like they were the size of a Buick basically, and they were usually very sedentary. They didn't move much, so they actually had the camera moving and doing all sorts of things for this. And F.W. Murnau sort of wanted this done, so the cinematographers did it. And the talking about having, because there's no sound in these things. Obviously, well, there was always sound because there was always a live orchestra, and sometimes there were actually sound effects, and sometimes they would actually have, in bigger places, voice actors saying a few things occasionally in some silent films, but that was for a live performance only. And then they even had tried synchronized records, that which didn't really work that well. But it usually has something called the intertitle, where it tells something that's going on or dialogue. F.W. Murnau got to a point where he didn't need any of that. He could tell a multi-layer story without any words. And The Last Laugh has that. The only thing is in there, they show a letter, a very short letter on camera. And so he was able to do it. He does that to a certain extent. And it's just, it's like visually stunning, because there's sort of like overviews of the city and flying over the city, all sorts of things like that are just like it's all, and the effects are all done in the camera. There's no CGI, none of that stuff. And they would use hanging miniatures, where they'd have something in front, or a painting that they would film through. And they did marvelous stuff with this. And this one has a couple versions, because they filmed it usually sometimes with 3 cameras, or at least 2 cameras from a slightly different angle. So they would choose the best scenes for the domestic version, and this is German. This one is German, and they would choose the best scenes and create, edit it for the film there, and then the export film would be the less good
Right.
scenes.
The second
Uh,
choice.
yeah, and then like this version, Eureka, the Masters of Cinema has both versions on it.
Yeah, that's another good thing about nowadays. You get to see both versions. Which
Yeah, and when they do have good commentaries, like a good
film
historian,
historian.
yeah, that works on that. So yeah,
Yeah,
and this
yeah.
is obviously from the Faust legend. That's what the story is from.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was a real experience seeing it in cinema with a pianist. It was awesome. And you're right. I love the visuals of it and the way it's made, and it's great. Yeah. So I got a bit of it's like a tickly cough. So sorry about that. Heidi said, Shawn, did you like Singing in the Rain?
I'm not a huge musical person. There's a few I like. My Fair Lady, Brigadoon, and a couple other ones, and then more, I guess you would call them musicals that were done. Dennis Potter did stuff like he did a new Singing in the Rain, but it's the actors. It was done for TV. The actors are miming old 30s songs, and
Was that the Singing Detective?
yeah, he did that one as well. Yes, yeah, he did that one as well. But he did do the Singing in the Rain, a more modern version, sort of it. I think it was called Singing in the Rain. Was it called Singing in the Rain?
I didn't know he did that.
I think, or I might be getting the name wrong. But he did another one that was set in the 30s. It's with I can't even think of his name now. But he's selling sheet music, and it just goes through where all of a sudden they go into a dance and singing, but they're lip syncing to the period music.
Yeah. Well,
Pennies
Lipstick
from
on Your
Heaven.
Collar, he did that. Oh, Pennies from
Pennies
Heaven. Oh,
Pennies from
yeah.
Heaven.
That's right. Is that Bob Hoskins?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I remember the Dennis Potter stuff on TV when I was younger. Yeah.
And he
And
even did a Ewan McGregor one with sort of rock music in the 60s.
yeah, Lipstick on Your Collar. That was.
Yeah.
That was really good. Heidi hasn't asked me, but I absolutely love Singing in the Rain. I think it's absolutely amazing. Love it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But I just, I don't know. Musicals never really did a lot for me. I kind of like the Busby Berkeley stuff because of the the coordination and things like that. But and then there's another one that is good. What's it called? It's mostly dance, but it is a musical. There's a few early 30s ones that are pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. But you must like the Make 'Em Laugh routine, right?
Which one's that?
Donald O'Connor when him and Gene Kelly do the Make 'Em Laugh song.
Yeah.
That's a great scene.
And then like an American in Paris, I think it is.
That's Gene Kelly, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a Louise Brooks sort of homage in there as well, the dancing.
Yeah.
Bit. So
yeah. There's one, I can't remember what it's called. There's one musical, and the plot is like a naval thing, and that's got Jerry from Tom and Jerry in it, isn't it? I think Gene Kelly dances with Jerry in the scene. Can't remember which one that is. Anyway, some of my Gavin will probably able to tell us what that was. Gavin's just went Pennies from Heaven. But clearly you thought of it anyway. I said I brought it up because of the theme of silent movies going to talkies. Yeah, no, I thought that was why you brought it up. Yeah. And obviously, with Shawn loving silent movies so much, he would relate to the plot, and it has got magic to it. Debbie Reynolds is also amazing in it, I think.
Yeah,
actually.
No, it's fine. Yeah, but it's again, I don't know. It just for some reason. Anchors Away. Oh, yeah.
Anchors Away.
Yeah.
I don't want to be pedantic, but isn't it Away AWEIGH?
I think it actually is. Yeah.
I wouldn't even bother correcting Gavin, except that Gavin's such an expert in everything. I
And
think
one
it's
thing
Anchors
you'll
Away.
notice that most of these silent films that I'm showing are European silent films, other than
Right.
Greed. But he made it as a European silent film. Like I do love American silent films as well. Like I love Charles Chaplin and his films, but yeah, it's just again how many I can only choose 10 here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've just got it before we go take Penance Away. Absolutely. Didn't need to be said. But Anchors Away, that's the Jerry one. Right. Let's go to and again, quite a different one. Your fourth choice?
Yeah, which is Napoleon. And the just for everybody to know, these are done in order of the release dates. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah. So Napoleon by going back to Abel Gance, who did the LaRue. He was a massive uh, French director, and another earlier one he did was Jacques, which is absolutely fabulous as well. It's basically accusing people of First World War of the horrors of First World War, and that's absolutely fabulous as well. But this is you have to really see this on screen and a big production because the last 20 minutes it's like you think of a normal square screen on the cinema, normal size. And then you get the last 2 minutes, curtains open up, and you've got another screen on each side of that. And it's a triptych. It's like becomes a widescreen, but there's three cameras, or the films
That's
that are
awesome.
running side by side. And it's absolutely fabulous. It's like I keep saying absolutely fabulous, but it is.
That
And
is awesome.
I've seen it twice at the Royal Festival Hall with Carl Davis's score. That's on this. And Abel Gance, again, his original, I think, cut was about 9 hours. And then it was cut down, and he might have actually originally had 11 hours as well. And this was going to be part one of 6.
And they reckon Peter Jackson makes long films.
Yeah. And because you see in Europe and in France they had no problem with having like 3 nights of going back to the film. They didn't watch them all at the same time.
Yeah.
It would be people
Part
are
one,
used
part
to
two,
this.
part three.
Yeah, that's why Greed, as I say, like he did 11 hours. It's like why that's no problem. You just put it on 3 nights. But American producers, film companies, and they just it was an anathema to them. They couldn't even conceive anybody doing that in the United States, but they did it routinely in Europe.
Yeah, I wish I could remember what it was, but I've had one experience where I watched the film that was so long they put an interval in the middle of it.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what it was. It wasn't obviously the Peter Jackson stuff because it was proper like at least 4 hours long. But I can't remember what it was. It was years and years ago. It was about 30 years ago.
Well, this has been taken over 60 years to get restored to well, there's a bit of a story with the restoration of this. Kevin Bronlau, the film historian, silent film historian mostly, he found as a teenager, I think either 9mm or 16mm, knockoffs of silent films, and that was a popular thing. You could watch them at home. So he found one of the reels for this, and he was fascinated with it, and he spent the next 50 years piecing this together. And this is his final restoration, which is 5.5 hours long. And Carl Davis has done the music, and I've seen it, as I say, twice at the at the Royal Festival Hall in London. I think it originally was done in 1983. I think it was in Hollywood, and Abel Gance was still alive, and he came to see it as well there, and it was a huge hit. And usually when they did it, and then when they did it in London again around the 80s, they would serve, they would have a break, but they would serve a meal because it was so long.
Yeah, that's so cool.
However, Francis Ford Coppola, may he rot in whatever,
Okay.
he decided to take this film, Kevin Bronlau's restoration, re-edit it, take stuff out, rearrange scenes, and get his father, Carmen Coppola, I think it is, to do a score that is absolutely awful for it, and then says, "I own the film," and he blocked BFI or anybody
Really?
having putting this out. That's why I say he talks about preservation and stuff occasionally, and he's nothing of that. I will never forgive him for doing something like this. But finally, like about 10 years ago, BFI I think just decided to put it out
So,
on
so did you quite enjoy the fact that his last film was a bit of a flop and he's just completely like put all of his money into it? Did you hear about that?
no, I don't.
I've,
When anything comes up about him, I don't care.
you just don't know. I can't remember what it's called, but it looked interesting in the trailer, and apparently it's been an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
And no one would let him do it, so he put all of his money into it, his own money, and it's failed massively. So there you
Well,
are. Maybe you can take some pleasure in that.
most people will probably know the Ridley Scott, recent one for this.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't, I have no interest to see it. All I do know is I've seen a scene of it, or maybe I didn't even see a scene. I heard Joaquin Phoenix that's playing
Yeah,
Napoleon?
yeah,
I heard his voice doing this, and I go, no, no.
yeah. I mean, Ridley Scott's a great filmmaker, but I
He
just
is.
have
Yeah.
I don't like it when historical films play around with history. I just feel like if you're going to tell the story, tell the story. Don't.
Yeah. Well, this
You know.
just goes up to 1797, I think, when
Right.
he enters Italy,
Yeah.
because Abel Gance had the thought of making six films in total about Napoleon's
Okay.
life. So think of 6 10-hour films.
I love that. So you're taking a
But
life to watch it.
the thing was that a couple years ago, well, maybe even close to 10 years ago, less than that, I think, somebody found more film of this in France in the cinema.
And they said, this is not long enough. We need to add this.
Yeah, so it's now approximately 7.5 hours. And it's like they say, it's the definitive version. So they've got a new score, and they were going to do it in 2021, I think, but they didn't have it ready because they were going to do it for the 200th anniversary of Napoleon's death, but they didn't have it ready. So they actually did it last year. I think in July it was screened in Paris.
Okay.
And they say it's the definitive. It's going to be the last, but everybody knows there's more material out there. And the bit of a strange thing of this is 20 frames per second. The 7.5 hour one is 18 films per second. So it's not quite, it's about almost 2 hours longer. But I want to see it, but they haven't released it in any shape or form yet on Blu-ray, and I'm hoping they did. And I seen a trailer of it. The music's good, but I really want Carl Davis to augment his. So I'm hoping that if somebody like BFI may not do it, but if somebody else does it here in the UK, they will commission Carl Davis to just augment his score.
I'm sure that was available on CD, wasn't it? I'm sure I sold that in the shop that I worked in.
Oh, it's wonderful music. Like you can actually
it's quite a
listen to it
famous
as a
score.
CD. Yeah.
Yeah. I did what was that I was doing? Oh yeah, when I did the snobby tag, I talked about my experience working in that. I don't know if you saw it when I talked about working in the record shop.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, we had loads of film score CDs, and yeah, the Napoleon one was one that we used to sell sometimes. Can I just say before I go to the comments, like a big epic, a big epic film like Napoleon, black and white. I just made maybe I don't know why, but it's not the same kind of film, but it made me think of Seven Samurai. Do you like Seven Samurai?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that film. Yeah.
I basically it's been a long journey for me for non-English language films that are sound. I love the silent ones, and it's taken me a long time to now look at, like, I like the 1930s sound like German and non-English language, whether it be Japanese or whatever, even Chinese films. But after they got into like post World War II, I didn't really like non-English language films, because especially when they got into the late 60s and 70s, basically this is how I explain, because I spent a long time watching some of this stuff. I wanted to like these things, but I couldn't, because I basically say this is the scene that a guy is having sex with his secretary on desk, and then they pan the camera over and a donkey walks through the door, and then they pan back, and then they pan back, the donkey backs out. That's basically foreign film. That's every I must have
I don't
saw
remember that happening in Seven Samurai.
no, it doesn't. But what I'm saying is, in general, for European sound film, it's like when I watched at least 100 of these or more in the '90s that were
And you're
playing on.
going, why do I keep panning to the donkey? I want to see the sex. Is that what you're
Yeah,
thinking?
but the thing is, it's like it's that kind of stuff, and I couldn't take it. I couldn't take it, so I stopped watching anything that was what we'd call foreign film.
Too many donkeys.
Yeah. So, but now I'm going back and looking at stuff, and I'll just with anything like that, those ones that I know and those directors, I just no, I don't want to see those.
Yeah. Well, we'll get the comments there. But if you haven't seen Yojimbo, that's I think that's as good as Seven Samurai as well. It's another Kurosawa film.
I've seen part of that one time, and like I say, I like those. I like those films, and it's just I just have to educate myself a little more on sound, like European films. But I really like the 30s and 40s and 50s, and as they got up into the 70s, it's like a lot of films. The new wave in science fiction didn't work for me. The new wave in films in the 60s, late 60s, just didn't work for me a lot of times. Some of them did, but not all of
them. Let's go back to the comments there. So Constance says, I saw the original 5 Planet of the Apes movies in one sitting at a movie. Wow. That's almost as long as your choices of films. My girlfriend brought a garbage bag filled with popcorn. A garbage bag filled with, I love that. I didn't do it in the end, so we've kind of missed a beat there. But I was going to talk about having a snack as we're talking about films. But I don't know, it's kind of irrelevant now. But they were going to be Cajun lemon chicken flavored crisps, which is pretty cool. And then Aaron says it's the definitive version until they find more footage.
Exactly. But I'm up there for it. Like once if it's not going to happen this year, maybe next year, they'll come out with a nice box set. And if it happens to be a French box set, I'll see if I can get that. Like I've got the Jacques. It's like a huge box set with Jacques, the Blu-rays in it, and a bunch of other films and booklets. Like they call them booklets, but they're books. They're full-size books, and it's just a huge box set. It's a beautiful thing, but it was very expensive. But again, I was working, and I saw that, and I go, it was limited to like 1,500 copies, and I go, I have to get that. I'm glad I did.
Right, your next choice, your choice number 5, that featured your queen. You've mentioned her many times. So it's your chance to wax lyrical about your favorite woman. Go on.
Louise Brooks and Pandora's Box. This is a German film again. G.W. Pabst was the director, and Louise Brooks was American. This is 1929, and 1929 was when they were bringing in sound in Hollywood. And the film she did, the last film there was The Canary Murder Case, which was about a Ziegfeld Follies girl that gets killed, and she plays this dancer. And William Powell is there. It's basically from the S.S. Van Dyne novel of Philo Vance. and they wanted to then make it into a sound film, and they ordered her back, but they already told her we weren't going to renew your contract. So she just said "F you" and hopped on a boat. And because she got a call from G.W. Pabst, who saw her in another film called "A Girl in Every Port," and thought she would be good to play Lulu, which is a beloved character in German sort of theater by what's his name, Weidkind, Frank Weidkind, if that's the pronunciation. Earth Spirit, 1895, and Pandora's Box, 1904. And it's about a young woman who, well, at least in the film version, she's having an affair with a sort of rich industrialist, but his son falls in love with her too, and he thinks that she's having an affair with her son, but she was brought up by a very like basically a pimp, and she probably was a prostitute for quite a while in her younger days, but she's now with this rich guy. But it gets complicated for that. But then she winds up accidentally killing him, and then she goes to court. She doesn't realize she's quite innocent in many ways. She doesn't realize that she is poison to men. Basically, men will fall at her feet and do anything, and she doesn't ask them to do these things, but they ruin themselves and ruin other people around them. And
Right.
and there's a scene in here that is very scandalous, because it's an actress called Alice Roberts, not the
Right.
Alice Roberts, the archaeologist that's in the UK here now, but an actress then, and it's she plays a countess that is a lesbian, and they do a dance, and that was always cut
That
out.
that would have been very controversial in 1929,
Like,
wouldn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and yeah, and then it has the final scenes with Jack the Ripper character in it as well in London. So it
Mm.
brings in a lot of stuff. And um, there was a previous version of this made with Asta Nielsen. It's not that good. They thought of using Marlene Dietrich, I think, as Pandora, uh, or Lulu, I should say, but it wouldn't have worked. It's like, she's perfect for this. She's perfect, and it's like this was her role. And
It's her most
GW,
famous film, isn't it?
yeah, oh, it is. Yeah, it's a lot of times on the must see films of
Mm.
especially silent films. And GW Pabst um, was a fabulous director. He directed another one after this with her called Diary of a Lost Girl, which oh no, actually, sorry, no. Oh, I forget which the Alice Roberts is in, because there's another lesbian scene in that one as well, sort of.
Okay.
But they're German films, so. And Louise Brooks loved Germany, because Germany at this time was pretty hedonistic.
Yeah, it's very decadent. Yeah, the
Yeah,
whole Weimar Republic stuff. Yeah, yeah, and then
yeah, and
obviously it all went wrong a few years later.
yeah. No, but she loved it. And what's the German Leni Riefenstahl came to the set of this and sort of was canoodling with the director, off camera and stuff. And Louise Brooks sort of wrote about this and saying, because she wanted information, like she just sort of played anybody to get information, or not information, but to help, in her photography career. At least that's what Louise Brooks says.
Right.
She didn't think too much of her.
Yeah. So, because one of the things is really evident. One of the things I was kind of half expecting, and you're absolutely shining on this, is that you really like look into this. So you read the biographies. You love reading about film,
Yeah,
and yeah, you absolutely know your stuff. This is the fifth film, and all these five films, you said loads of stuff about, not rather, not just why you like them, but loads of stuff about the making of them, and the
yeah,
process of doing it, and how the director feels about it. It's just awesome. So it's one of the things. That I think is probably why a lot of people like your channel as well, is that the stuff that you you are interested in, you really proper delve and you probably like look into it and read all the material about it, don't you?
Yeah, well, especially Louise Brooks, I've read a lot about her. I've read, things that she wrote essays for Sight and Sound, and they were put together in a book called Lulu in Hollywood, and
Right.
they're excellent. And Kevin Bronlau went to interview her, and she lived in Rochester, New York. She died in late '80s, I think it was, but she was born in Cherryville, Kansas. Went to New York at 16 years old. She was chaperoned for a little bit, but then she became like almost like a Ziegfeld Follies, but it was a different one. And she was kicked out of a hotel because they thought she was bringing men in, and she was only 16 years old. She was quite hedonistic in many ways, um, but she did what she wanted to do. When she went into there was the Coen brothers that were uh, the owners. What was it? Is it Paramount or one of the studios? Anyway, I can't think of exactly which one, but he would always be nude behind his desk, and they basically said they'll give her a contract if she has sex with him. So she just basically said no. she wouldn't do that. She would easily maybe have sex with somebody, but it was only she wouldn't want to be forced into it.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. She did it because she wanted to rather than to get the job.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she left, and she was blacklisted basically. So when she came back, nobody wanted her. She started a dancing career, got married briefly, second time, and traveled around doing. And she wrote a book on dance, which I'd love to get, but it's like if it ever goes up for sale, it'll probably be thousands of pounds. You
So
know.
do you reckon Louise Brooks is one of those people that, yeah, she'd be in there on that question about the 5 people you'd want to have at a dinner?
Oh, definitely, definitely,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. She, because she didn't really care about the acting bit. She just was herself, and a lot of people wanted to act. She just was herself. So, so she was so natural. She
Yeah.
was so natural, and her haircut is become iconic. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
remember getting my glasses one time. Looked at a place, and there was a young girl that had the Louise Brooks cut, and it was strange because the next day I was going to go down to Bristol and watch the Diary of a Lost Girl with her. And I mentioned this she didn't have a clue who she was. She didn't have a clue where her hairstyle came from or anything, you know.
Yeah. 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 So it filters through, doesn't it? Not everyone
Yeah.
knows where it comes from. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Right. Let's go to your sixth choice.
Yeah. And this one is sort of, I guess, for the horror type films that I like, even though it's not really horror, but it'll remind me of other horror ones. It's The Old Dark House, James Whale, in 1932. Universal. This is the first sound film on the docket, and
Yeah.
it's got Boris
James Whale as
Karloff.
well.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Boris
James.
Karloff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just it's like so many great actors. It's got Boris Karloff, Melvin Douglas, Gloria Stewart, and some people may know Gloria Stewart in a more recent film, The Titanic.
Yeah.
She's the old lady at the beginning, but
Yeah.
she was
Yeah.
in this film, and she was a good actress at this time. Charles Lawton is in here, which we'll see
Nice.
coming up
He's
again.
amazing. Yeah.
Ernest
Um,
Thiegsler, uh, which he was in the Bride of Frankenstein. He was Dr. Proteus, I think that's the character. He's very camp. He's very
yeah. So,
camp here.
yeah.
Raymond Massey as well, which will show up in the next film.
Yeah.
He's a Canadian actor, but
Yeah.
he was really big at this time. And it's just these so Americans getting lost, which turns out in Wales on a stormy night, and they knock on a door of this brother and sister, are very strange, and Boris Karloff is mute. He hated this film. He hated this film. He's mute. He doesn't say any words. it's like he opens the door and he goes, and then somebody says, "Oh yeah, we're in Wales." Um, because they weren't sure where they were. But
No,
after,
if there was in Wales, there'd be a lot more consonants in it.
yeah, but that's that's James Whale's sense of humor,
Yeah.
and it's just a weird house, and they spend the night, and it's like Charles Lawton is quite good, and he's quite flamboyant as well. Charles Lawton actually started in some silent stuff as well.
Yeah.
And
I've
like
seen quite a few Charles Lawton films.
yeah,
He's very clearly the best Beauty on the Bounty.
oh yeah, he's really good,
Amazing. And
what
Hunchback as well.
Hunchback, but also the Island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah.
Really good with that. Yeah, that was banned in the UK until the 50s, I think, at some point. But
Amazing.
yeah, no, this is and this sort of, because I sort of was thinking of taking one of the, like, Dracula, Frankenstein, or the Mummy, or the Invisible Man, but then I thought, okay, but which one of those? And it's like there was too many of them. So I thought this one, and then when I watched this, because it's James Whale, will make me think of Bride of Frankenstein, and then all the others. So,
but you
and
didn't
more.
mention the Wolfman. You didn't
Well,
mention
yeah, the Wolfman as well. Yeah,
Lou Chaney.
yeah.
Lon Chaney. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So I like the fact that you're trying to represent all these different styles. It's cool. Because you want to, like you said, you want to be reminded of these other films as well.
Yeah.
And James Whale was a classic director.
Yes, yeah. And there's a really good modern film. It was called was it something Monsters and something? But it's about his life. It's sort of his last days.
Yeah.
But it's,
Biopic, wasn't it, about James Whale?
yeah. It was really good, and I can't think. I can picture the film, and I can picture the actors, and I can't think of the names at the moment. But it was
It
good.
wasn't Of Men and Monsters or something. Was it
Gods
something
and
like
Monsters.
Gods and Monsters. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never saw it, but yeah, I know what you mean. I know when it came out. I remember when it came out.
Yeah, it was good.
Cool. So that's time for 1932. We're into the 30s. We're getting well recent now, aren't we? We're into the 30s.
And this is my science fiction one, and it's 1936. Things to
Great
Come.
film. Things to Come. What a film.
Directed by William Cameron Menzies, produced by Alexander Korda, which is the sort of producer of British films in the 30s. Like, he was one of the pioneers of that kind of stuff for sound film. And it's got Raymond Massey, Ralph Richardson, who will show up again in another film in a little while, Cedric Hardwicke, and Todd. And it's based on the 1933 novel, The Shape of Things to Come, by H.G. Wells.
H.G. Wells, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have huge effects or anything like this, but to me, this has a huge sense of wonder. And and that's why I chose it, because to me, it's like there's two early films in science fiction that I think are important. It's this one and The Silent Metropolis, for doing things. And
I thought you might have chosen Metropolis, actually. So yeah, it's interesting. I was waiting for that one.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's difficult. It's so I chose this one instead because I already had 5 silent. So I figured, well, this will be the sound one in science fiction. And it's sort of post-apocalyptic, I guess you would say, rebuilding of society, and it's very optimistic. It's like science is the way to go, but also too, H.G. Wells has his thing about society, and how society can hurt itself, I guess, in a sense, by because they want to stop because they rebuild civilization, and it's generations later, but Raymond Massey plays his descendant, who's going to be shot out of a gun to go up into space. And the people are saying the people don't want this. They think there's a fundamentalist group that's saying that we shouldn't be doing this and all this kind of thing. But like I say, it's sort of science is the god in here, I guess you would say, and will be the savior of humankind, which is a big part of science fiction. Whether
Yeah,
whether you agree with it or not, it's that sense of wonder that what humans can do or potential to do.
I'd say there's also a strand of science fiction that's the warnings about technology and
Exactly.
science
Yeah.
as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Um,
But this one is definitely the science wins out in
yeah.
this one. And the problem, like this, I like this. It's a network one, but the sound is not great on it. They did something bad with the sound, and I'm not very technical with all this stuff. And there's another booktuber, Spencer. Uh, what's the name of his channel? It's a line from Star Wars. This something crusade, this idealistic crusade or something like that.
Okay.
Uh,
I
but
don't know
he,
that
but
channel.
yeah, but he knows everything. He knows, like, he can go through, like, laser discs, VHS, and sometimes the best sound is on the VHS version because they
Right.
mess around with it. They screw it up. They
Is that
do
a
things.
Blu-ray you got there?
Yeah, this is a Blu-ray. Yeah, and they messed up the sound on it. I can even
Oh,
hear that.
weird. Isn't that funny?
It's
That's like
squawky.
it's one of the selling points of Blu-rays is the sound.
Yeah, it's squawky. It's squawky. Like, it sounds. It's just, I don't know what they done. It's not great.
Wow. Isn't that funny? Is there what's the extras on it?
Not much. There is, I think, a commentary. Okay, audio commentary. By, it says Things to Come expert Nick Cooper. I don't remember that. Image galleries, and then virtual extended edition of viewing option allowing for the inclusion of text and images. Oh yeah, because there are scenes that have disappeared.
Uh,
So it's not much. It's like, it's actual booklet, but it's got a little essay, but it's not great.
yeah. Yeah, I guess if if it had more on it, it might be 50 quid. So
Yeah,
maybe
well, networks are pretty cheap. Yeah, but you see, when they do have a nice package and it is 50 quid, I don't mind it if I can afford it,
yeah,
because I get all the extras, and
yeah,
it's like
it's definitely a
getting
selling
so much
point.
extra.
Always an interesting comment just come up. Let's go over the comments a second because
Yeah,
Adam Gregory, hi Adam, he's told us about Gods and Monsters, which is cool. So
yeah,
that was the James Whale biopic. And then Constance says I was expecting M to come up. Fritz Lang.
yeah. See, it's like, that's another one. Yeah, it's hard to choose everything, and
Peter
I
Lorre is an amazing actor, isn't he?
yeah, like, I could have, I could have easily put in a Fritz Lang film somewhere there, like either the
Hmm.
silent or sound ones.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just, I just Ted. It's like,
Yeah, yeah. The fun fact: Peter Lorre is also Danny Elfman's favorite actor.
oh, okay.
Anyone that would be interested in that? Yeah, cool. Yeah, M would be a good choice as well. Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
It's quite
yeah,
nice that once we get the chat going and you had your honourable mentions, we can end up talking about 20 odd films, can't we? Like if
yeah,
people are going, well, what about this one? What about that one? It's quite cool.
yeah.
Brilliant.
There is the big miss in this is a Fritz Lang film. That definitely is a miss because
Yeah,
there's
is he
so
one of
many.
your favorite directors?
He is, yeah. F.W. Murnau. Like, I wish F.W. Murnau and Fritz Lang could be combined in one person, because
Did they ever collaborate? Did they know each other?
no, oh, they probably knew each other to a certain extent, I think, but I
Yeah,
don't think they ever collaborated because F.W. Murnau died in 1931, I think,
right.
and I think it was a car crash.
I mean, it's rare for directors to work together anyway, really, isn't
Yeah,
it?
but I wish they were molded into one person because Fritz Lang is great on these plots and stories, especially the silent ones, and F.W. Murnau is so great for the background, the depth, and stuff like this, where Fritz Lang isn't so much. So if you combine those two, wow, what kind of film could you have?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny because we just said it doesn't happen very often. Directors working together, and you talked about how they got different ways of making films, different strengths. And one of my favorite directors, who would definitely be included in my 10, is Jean-Pierre Jeunet.
Okay, yeah.
And he, in his first two films, Delicatessen and City of Lost Children, were done with Mark Caro. And they've got very different. They got I think they just really well suit to each other, and that they, I think Caro was partly responsible for the visual style of it, because when he did like Amelie and a few other films afterwards without him, that sort of thing was different and changed. But they worked really well together, and I remember Jeunet saying that it's a different process when he's working on his own, and working with Caro was like really symbiotic thing, you know. So yeah, that's it. Does work. It does happen. It can happen, but I don't think it happens very often, does it?
No, well, like the biggest sort of team. It's not so much. It's what's their name?
Oh, the Coen
British.
brothers.
No, not the Coen brothers.
I love them.
British ones at this. What's
Oh, um, the comedies, like Lavender Hill Mob and all that, right?
no.
No, what are they called?
I'm trying to think. I can't even think of a name of film at the moment. But David Niven was in it. Something about life. It was
Oh,
color.
Matter of Life and Death.
Yeah, those two. Like one was producer and one was director. And
Was that
then
Preston Sturges? Was it?
yeah, Preston and Sturges. Is it Preston and Sturges? No.
Oh.
No, that's American. Oh, I can't think of his name. All right, their names.
Civ Gavin comes through again.
Yeah. I know the name, but I just can't pull it out of my COVID soaked brain.
What's the name of the? Oh, here we go. Powell and Pressburger.
Powell and Pressburger. That's it. Yes. And
What's
then
the
the
name
ones
of
you're thinking
the
about, it's
the
I think.
American comedy team? I was just trying to think of.
Well, there's Preston Sturges who did the comedies, but the other British one I think you're talking about is I've got it written down here because it comes up.
That's gonna. I'll kick myself.
Frank Lauder and Sidney Gillette.
No, that
The
wasn't what I was
British
thinking
one.
of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That's so weird that I've. Oh no! Hold on, no, it's fine. No, I was just thinking about the production company because they're called Ealing Comedies, aren't they? I was thinking about the Ealing
Yeah.
Comedies. But that's
Yeah, and that's where
that. Yeah,
Sidney Gillette and
yeah,
Frank Lauder were a
right.
big part of writing and
Yeah.
other ones. They come up with the next film here because they wrote the
Okay. Yeah. That's cool. Where do we get there? Oh yeah, talking about team ups. It's
Yeah.
like what's going on? Yeah, cool. Right, brilliant. So that was things to come. So we're eking up to the late 30s now, aren't we? For your next one,
And this is my Hitchcock entry. I think
Hitchcock.
it's really his last film, I guess, before he went to America. I think, or
I was going to say it definitely wasn't his last film.
yeah, or penultimate one before he went to America. Lady Vanishes, 1938. Margaret Lockwood, gorgeous Margaret Lockwood. She's just so great in this. And Michael Redgrave again.
Yep.
And it's his debut debut film that he was in. Dame Mae Whitty was just fabulous in this as well. Paul Lucas, who showed up on so many things, and he just played basically the same character all the time. And it's from Ethelina White's novel, The Wheel Spins. And I can't remember when that was written. But it's very different, very, very different from the film, but it's still very good. And
Okay.
the screenplay was by Sidney Gillette and Frank Lauder. And they introduced two characters, the Charles Charters and Caldecott, Basil Radford and Naughton Wayne. And it's two English guys that they could have bullets flying around them, and then they'll be talking about cricket. You know, they just want to get back to England to watch the test match. That's that.
Yeah.
They just want to get back to England, and they became favorite characters, and they wound up doing like 6 or 7 films. They were in Passport to Pimlico as well, sort of those characters, but they did wind up playing these two characters in a whole bunch of films.
That's quite funny.
And this is a sort of it's an espionage spy film,
Yeah.
and I think it's just absolutely fabulous. Again, it's something that I watch over and over again, and this is the best version that I've had of it. It's the Criterion collection. And
The
it's
Criterion DVDs are amazing.
yeah. So and yeah,
so that was one of the.
If anybody's thinking of getting, you need to have an all regions Blu-ray player to do this, because this is region A in the US. I think that's region A. So,
yeah, that was that's one of the 4 films I've seen in your 10.
Okay.
So there's lots I haven't seen, but I've seen that one. Yeah.
And it's a train film, and Hitchcock had something for trains. I'm sure of that. Especially going into tunnels. And usually, like, he has blondes, but Margaret Lockwood was not a blonde. So, but she's really good in this, and she basically reprised a similar role called Night Train to Munich, and Caldecott and Charters and Caldecott are on there too, and it's got I was gonna say Richard Harrison. No, who's Dr. Dolittle?
Rex Harrison.
Yeah, Rex Harrison. Yeah. So it's similar. Like it's World War II, and they're on a night train, and there's some great train films like what's the other one with Marlene Dietrich? It's got Walter Oland. I think it's Walter Oland, or is it? He played Fu Manchu not Fu Manchu. Charlie Chan. Oh, what's the name of it now? It's another director I really like. My brain doesn't work at times.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
But it's a great train film. Anyway, and if I think of it as I go along, because it might pop into my mind, I'll mention it. But yeah, that's we're now finished with the 30s. Right.
Yeah. So we've got 2 left.
Yeah.
So you just skip the 40s.
Yeah. That's where I think if I did the 40s, it could have been the Uninvited. I think that's 40s with Ray Milland, the ghost film. That could have happened. Yeah. But yeah, off the top of my head, there are 40s films that are great.
As we're leaving the 30s, we should probably make a comment that you haven't included any Marx Brothers films.
No, I do enjoy them, but again, it's like that's one thing that I am missing here, is really comedy, and the only comedy that I get is in the last film. Right. Pop out for that. There's some comedy in there, but that was really difficult. I was trying to figure out a comedy one that to watch over and over, and I couldn't quite find something that would work for me.
There's a number of comedies I've seen at least 30 odd times, and Duck Soup is one of them I've seen.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the Marx Brothers films I've seen dozens of times, but Duck Soup, I think, is one that just doesn't get old.
I think the one that if I did pick, it would have been Arsenic and Old Lace.
Okay. Yeah.
Again, Raymond Massey. Raymond Massey and Peter Lorre as well. Peter Lorre is just high on heroin throughout the whole
it's nicely kind of gently unhinged, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Not just gently, it's very unhinged. Because Cary Grant is
Grant goofs about like crazy, doesn't
he? Yeah.
He's really like loving it, and I think that performance in that film is what George Clooney is emulating in O Brother, Where Art Thou?
Okay, yeah, I could see that. I never thought of that, but I could see that. I can see that, yeah.
And he's a similar kind of actor as far as how his career's gone and everything. But in that film, I think he's definitely doing that kind of take on goofing around the screen. You know, yeah. If you haven't seen Brother Art now, it's quite a unique film. I
Oh,
think.
I have. I do like
Yeah,
it. I do like it.
yeah,
Again, I suppose if I was hard pressed to do something that was sort of post 1960s, that would probably be on top 10. I think.
nice. Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I think it's an amazing film. Um, right, awesome. So we got two left, and we've got a couple of comments. So
Yeah.
let's have a look. So we had Aaron was telling us about Pound and Pressburger. Shanghai Train.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, Shanghai Train. That and I can't think of the directors. Von Stro no Von
Oh,
Stroheim. No, not Von
he corrects himself actually. Shanghai Express.
Shanghai Express. Yeah. Uh, yeah. I can't remember his name, but he did fabulous silent films too. The director, because he would use cigarette smoke, to
Oh yeah.
create depth and everything. Yeah, von Sternberg. Yes, he would use cigarette smoke, and create depth and everything through it. It's like his stuff was amazing in the silent era. And then he did a whole bunch of films with Marlene Dietrich, who I don't really care for, but I'll watch the ones that he did because
Yeah. The
it's
film is bigger than the main actor.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Cool. Right. So let's get to number 9.
Yeah, and this is sort of, I do love Christmas films, like classic Christmas films. So this is the one that I chose as Holly and the Ivy, a British film from 1952. Yeah, 1952.
Mm-hmm.
The director is not. I don't recognize him as a name, and I don't know if I've ever seen anything else he did. But I love what he does in here. It's George Moore O'Farrell or O'Farrell, I think it is.
Okay.
But it's got Ralph Richardson again, which I've already mentioned. Celia Johnson, who was in a lot of films in the 50s. What's the I want to say Oscar Wilde, but it's not Oscar Wilde. Noel Coward.
Oh,
Noel Coward films.
similar kind of.
And the strange thing is, in this one, Ralph Richardson is the father of Celia Johnson, and then they do another film a few years later, or maybe before, where they're husband and wife. So it's okay. Margaret Leighton, an older actress, British actress, mostly stage, and Denham Elliott, which
Denham Elliott. Yeah, lots of people would know.
very young. Yeah, very young actor in there. He's so good. And also, the first Doctor Who is in here.
Really, William Hartnell was in there.
Yeah, he plays.
Awesome.
He plays what he does a lot at this time as a sergeant. Like, he's very good at doing sergeant.
Yeah, he was known for that, wasn't he?
And it's basically just it mostly happens on Christmas Eve and into Christmas morning. Family that gets together. Ralph Richardson is a parson in a small little village, and two daughters. This one who's a fashion journalist in London, and the other daughter who's taking care of him. And Denham Elliott is the son, and he does finally get leave from the army to go home, and all these things, like there's arguments and secrets are revealed, and all this kind of stuff, and people change throughout like the night, and it's got the Christmas sort of to me, which is a perfect Christmas film where people actually learn something and grow. It's not realistic a lot of times, but I like the way it's portrayed at times in this.
It's got that message of like talking to each other and so domestic drama.
It's really good, and it's a short film, but it just packs a punch. And I there's hardly a Christmas that I don't watch it. Like I've watched this I don't know how many times over the last 40 years. Like I probably almost 40 times.
That's awesome.
I always watch it.
So I need to watch that. I'm intrigued. I don't know the film, so I definitely want to watch that. Talking about like domestic dramas with like all about characters and dialogue. This is not a Christmas film, but I just thought of it. There's a film that I think is amazing, and I watched it again recently, and it still stands up. I'm pretty sure it's called Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, the Sidney Poitier one.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's very good.
That's an
Yeah,
amazing film. Yeah, because and the ideology, if you like, of the parents sort of shift through the film as Sidney Poitier talks to them, and all that. It's really, really good, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
There's a lot of Poitier films that are good. What's the one where my name's Mr. Tibbs?
yeah, yeah.
The name of that.
Oh God, what's that called? The oh, this like a 3-word title, I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
And other ones, there's Raisin in the Sun that he did that was so good. And the To Serve with Love,
Serve Love. Yeah.
just absolutely fabulous film. Sorry, I keep using that term. Absolutely fabulous.
Why not?
I hated the series, but I used the term.
Hey, come on, it's your catchphrase. Use it. Oh yeah, here we go. Heat of the Night. I think that was what it was.
Night. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice one, Mick. Yeah. No, he did some great ones. And I just thought of Guess Who's Coming Dinner because of what you were saying about how they change through the course of the film, through their dialogue, and that just made me think of that one because I think that's quite an amazing film actually from that.
Yeah, no, there's ones that do that really well in a short period of time. And Spencer, I think it's one of
Spencer Tracy. Yeah, Spencer Tracy's amazing in that.
Yeah, and it's one of his best films because he never really was like. There's some really great films that he was in, and I really like them. But I think that could be my favorite of his.
The performance really stands out. I've seen other things where he's just there, but he's such an important part of that process, and he really kind of,
he's really good in the Scopes trial film, which I can't think of the name of it, and then something Incident at Black Rock or something like that is really good as well.
Is he in the original 12 Angry Men?
No, I don't think so. No, he's not. No, but that's another great film as well.
That's a great film. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, both versions actually. This is Aaron's written Inherit the Wind.
Yeah, Inherit the Wind. Yeah, that's the Scopes trial, the monkey trial one. That's really good.
Cool. So yeah, Holly and the Ivy, awesome. I'm going to look out for that one. I don't know that one.
Yeah, no, it's a fabulous one. I love it.
Let's get you number 10. 10th choice.
And that is The Night of the Hunter with Robert Mitchum.
Robert Mitchum, yeah.
And it's based on, that's 1951. And it's based on, what's his name here? Davis Grubb. But it's the same name as the novel, and it's a Southern Gothic. It is a wonderful novel. And James Agee did the screenplay for this, and it's wonderful as well. It's over the top. Robert Mitchum plays like a what do you want to call it? Like he's a fake priest, and he's going around marrying rich widows and killing them, but in God's name, because he's driving along in his little car and putting along. He goes, "What shall it be now, Lord? Is there another widow for me to, I'll do what you say, God." And it's way over the top, but
it's quite different for him, isn't it?
Oh,
his performance is really different.
Yeah. I love it. And it's Charles Laughton is the director.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the only film he directed. And it is amazing. And it's got Shelley Winters on it and James Gleason, who was he's sort of the town drunk, but he usually mostly plays like a police officer in the films in the 30s. And Peter Graves is on here too, a young Peter Graves from Airplane. He grows up. Well, he's an adult, but he shows up on Airplane, and it's like, it's a little different.
With his pervy lines in Airplane.
and it's the cinematography is by Stanley Cortez, who was an old cinematographer, and there's just wonderful scenes with lighting and distant shots in silhouette. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
it's a feast for the eyes. It's
yeah.
like things change as the movie goes along, and I think most people, they didn't know what to do with this film at the time, because it's on one side an arts film, in some ways, and it tells such a powerful story as well. It's about
Mm,
these two children that he kills their mother, and he knows that the money is somewhere, that their father Peter Graves had stolen, and they know where it is, and he's hunting them,
yeah.
through this. And the other great part of this is Lillian Gish is in there, the silent film actress,
Okay.
going
Yeah,
right
yeah.
back to D.W. Griffith, and she does a wonderful performance. She like one of the scenes are she's sitting on the porch, with a shotgun because he's out in the yard somewhere, and waiting to break in to get the kids. It's and the great thing of this is what Charles Lawton filmed a lot of outtakes, or versions of the scenes, and this stuff was sitting in a garage or a shed for so long, and somebody, I guess it was, I'm not sure if it was, I can't think of her name, but his wife, his widow, gave it to, I think, UCLA, and they were using it in students in classroom and cutting them up and doing editing on these
Like a
precious.
new their own personalized version.
Yeah, but what they did is somebody grabbed it all, and they strung it all together as if it was another film. The same movie, but there'll be times where there's 10 tries at the scene, and
Right.
it's like 2 hours or something long, and there maybe even be more footage of this, and there's like I watched that over and over, and it's like if they had 100 hours of this, I would have sat there and watched it all. Like, it's just so fascinating. Like, Robert Mitchum is with the child, the daughter, and he's directing her. Charles Lawton is in the background there, but he's one-on-one with the child, getting the
Yeah.
performance out,
Yeah.
rather than the director going, saying something. And this was, Charles Lawton. It's sad that he never directed anything else, but I don't
Mm.
know how he could have topped this. It's a wonderful film, and the book
I
is,
love it when you see actors directing films, and sometimes it's a pet project they want to do for years. Sometimes it's
yeah,
just something that falls in their lap and they do it and they don't do another one, or they get into directing. But it's such a cool thing. I think it shows a different side of their character, doesn't it?
yeah. Well, I think it was just a combination of James. Well, the book is so great, and James Agee doing the script is so good as well. And then Charles Lawton taking that and doing this, and the cinematography. There's just so much, like when they're going down the the river, and you just saw the cameras going along, and you see like a rabbit here, a frog here, and then when the kid's up in the loft of a barn, and you see, well, Robert Mitchum's character is supposed to be riding on a horse in silhouette, way in the distance, and you find out that it was actually a midget on a miniature horse or something like that, because it's not as far as away as you'd think it was. And then there's the other scenes with shadows. He's outside. There's a gas light there, and you see his shadow on the kids' walls. Just larger than life. It's amazing. It's like all
Yeah.
these films. That's why, like I say, I can rewatch these over and over again. And sometimes it's a visual feast like this, and other ones it's a story or the acting. I just, yeah, that's my
Yeah.
choice.
You were just talking about the kind of optical illusion side of filmmaking, the way you think it's that and it's actually that. And one of my favorite stories like that is when I watched the commentary of the original Alien. Ridley Scott was saying that there's the initial shot where you've got the 2 or 3 crew members from the Nostromo going towards the alien ship. You just, when you're watching it, you just assume that's those actors, and it's not. It's his kids, and it's just to show the scale of the ship, which I think is really cool. Just an extra thing to reinforce the size of the ship.
Well, hopefully, yeah, because I haven't seen that in a long time, but I love that film.
Yeah, it's an incredible film.
But
and I love the fact. Go on.
I was thinking of another film where they used children, and they didn't pull it off. It was I think it was Hammer that did the Hound of the Baskervilles, and they used children, and you could tell they're children. It's that's bad. It's really bad.
Well, who would would that have been Christopher Lee?
Yeah, Christopher Lee was in it, and Peter Cushing.
And Peter Cushing, yeah. They were the Hammer boys, weren't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, and obviously the other thing about Alien that I remember from the commentary that's just worth saying because it's amazing is when John Hurt has that famous scene with the stomach, he didn't tell anyone what was the other people that were in the crew, as in the character crew, what was going to happen, and like Veronica Cartwright looks absolutely horrified, and it's like their natural reaction to what's happening, which I think is so cool. He didn't tell them,
I've got a picture that he signed that was bursting out of his chest.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that John Hurt signed, or that Ridley Scott signed? Yeah. Oh, John Hurt was amazing, wasn't
he? Yeah.
We mentioned David Lynch earlier, didn't we? Because you talked about Dune, and John Hurt's performance in Elephant Man was incredible, wasn't it?
That's probably the only Lynch film that I like.
Right.
It might be the only Lynch film that I like.
It's probably one of the most straightforward David Lynch film.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I sometimes like weird when directors do that, but sometimes I'm not on board with their weird or something like that.
Yeah. Well, what was it? Was it the first one, LaRue, that you said was quite weird?
No, that's not weird.
Which one was it?
Faust is a bit weird.
Well, yeah, Faust is weird. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. All right, let's go to the comments a sec. So we had a comment from Constance, which I'm not sure what she's referring to, except that it made me think of a particular film. So Constance says another great one, Shelley Winter's Underwater.
Yeah, that's in The Night of the Hunter, where she's underwater in the air. She's sitting in the car, and what's his name? Gleason. James Gleason is seeing her through that.
Oh, yeah.
Her hair is floating.
Yeah. The image of it. Yeah. So for some reason it didn't click. I think it's because I immediately went Shelley Winter's Underwater, the Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah.
Because she does that famous give my necklace to my son, I'm not gonna make it, all that stuff, which ended up being a bit of a cliche, didn't it? In disaster films. But yeah, she was a big part, and Gene Hackman was amazing in that one, at the Poseidon Adventure. But Margaret's here. Hi, Margaret. We're getting towards the end. We've done all our films, haven't we? But nice that you've popped in. And Constance says hi. So yeah, you talked about the honourable mentions at the beginning, and we've also mentioned a few other films. Is there anything that's come up while we've been chatting? You just thought, oh yeah, it would have been nice to have had that kind of a film or something that.
Well, I guess comedy, and like it would have been either Arsenic and Old Lace, or what's the one with James Stewart and Harvey
about the rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, James Stewart's he's not underrated, but I feel like kind of he is in a way, because he had such a natural way of having that screen presence and making you sort of believe him and make you want to watch, even though he didn't overact, he didn't overdo it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, the other thing that I didn't have in here, which I didn't know how to shoehorn something else in as a Western, because, when you
Oh
think
yeah,
of him, Winchester 73 is such a great film.
John
And
Wayne.
no, that's James Stewart, Winchester 73.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And John Ford. So it would be a John Wayne film. And if I chose that would have to be The Searchers. I would think it would have to be
Yeah, yeah.
uh, it
Um,
would have to be that. So yeah, or yeah, there's just, again, it's like, I could easily do a 10 Western one. That would be easy. Like I say, there's probably 100 films that I could probably subsist on and just be happy just cycling through them.
yeah, yeah. So to pick 10 is crazy. Everyone that's done this has sent me a message straight away going 10, just 10. But obviously, you make us just pick 8 books, so
Yeah.
this is hard, isn't it? But
Yeah,
he's,
well, that's like everybody mostly says the eight books are easy compared to the one music, the one
yeah,
CD.
that's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. What? Yeah, choosing one of something is like
yeah,
you're literally ignoring so much by choosing one of something. That's true. At least you can have a bit of a spread of stylistic stuff anyway.
yeah.
So yeah. No, that's really cool. We've got another comment here from Margaret. Just enjoying listening to you. Hold on. Listening to you natter on while I have to make some quick images for work. Um that's cool. Yeah. Um I've noticed a few people with the lives with Dave and stuff that a lot of people like listen but aren't watching. They kind of have it on and they're doing
Yeah.
things. It's quite cool in it, and that's obviously the podcast culture in it. But it's quite cool. I mean, we're not really doing anything visual, so it makes sense. Really, we're not.
Yeah.
I could do it with puppets. But
Well, I hold up the Blu-ray,
that's
but I
true.
figured
Yeah, you got the
if I had
yeah,
everything. I think that was part of it as well, to make sure I had, a DVD or a Blu-ray. I think that was
yeah,
so. I was trying to, figure out a way of making the list shorter, because I did this a while ago. I had a rough list, and then I just figured, okay, yep, that one, and I discarded a few others, but then I just kept going back and forth with
yeah.
Macbeth and The Innocents.
Yeah, I love the fact you have shown the actual physical copies as well, because I think it's a good thing to kind of sell, if you know the idea of it, the idea of buying physical copies, because it's it'd just be awful, the idea that you can't get those kind of things anymore, or those shops are closing down or whatever, if that did happen. Luckily, I think it's quite a popular thing to buy still. But
Yeah, well, see, I think some of these, they call them boutique, Blu-ray places like Criterion, Masters of Cinema, Indicator, these places. I don't see those going out of business very quickly, unless somebody along the line sort of stops something, that they stopping them from production of these things,
mm,
because they're usually, a lot of these now are limited editions, like, they're 1,500 or 3,000 copies, and like this, the Pandora's Box, will it say how many? It's a limited one, and I knew this would disappear quickly, so I got
mm,
this as quick as possible, and it within 6 months it was sold out. The special edition. Sometimes they'll redo it, but it won't have the booklet, or in this case, they wouldn't have the hard case on it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So- and
Have
and
you
and
have you gone?
No, I was just saying, and that's one thing that they're guaranteed to put out some of this stuff, that they all sell out eventually. They all sell out. And some may take a little longer, but
Mm,
some of them sell out like in a couple months, two, three
yeah,
thousand
yeah.
copies, immediate
Uh,
sale.
I mean, when I talking about these special editions, like when I go in HMV, I always look at the racks of these special edition DVD and Blu-rays, and it's such a massive choice. It's really cool, like really like iconic films, and films that are, like you said, they're like 60, 70 years old, and they got big booklets and
Yeah,
tons of extras. They recently redid the Marx Brothers films actually with another bunch of extras, which is really cool.
Yeah, I've got a set. I don't think it's all of them. By Arrow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that might be the MGM ones. They usually split the Paramount ones and the
yeah,
MGM ones. They don't normally put them together because
yeah,
clearly, they're different film companies, so they don't put them together. But I mean, I much prefer the Paramount ones because they're funnier. But the MGM ones do include Nightly Opera and Data Races, so
yeah.
But yeah, so it's quite nice when these things come out and you go, wow, that's great. They've done a new version of blah blah blah. Do you ever watch? I don't know if you've seen it, but on YouTube, there's a load of stuff from Criterion where they get a famous actor or director or something to
Yeah,
do
the
my
closet.
Criterion picks. Have you seen it?
Yeah, yeah. In their closet, they have
Yeah, it's
all.
cool, isn't it?
Yeah, there's an actress, a young actress, and her husband. I can't remember their name, but they're like massive collectors of this stuff. And like I
Right.
think they've got like DVDs and Blu-rays. And I saw the one that she was in there, and she's going, "Oh, these are all old ones." So her husband will have all of them. So she turns around, tries to find something that's maybe that has just come out, but she figures he's probably already pre-ordered that, but she'll take that
Yeah.
one, you know.
Yeah. It's cool, isn't it? Yeah. I know Terry Gilliam did one, and that was pretty cool seeing Terry Gilliam doing
Oh, I
it.
haven't seen
And
that one. I haven't seen that
yeah,
one.
there's all sorts. I mean, I'm a huge Terry Gilliam fan. Um, but there's all sorts of people. It's really cool when they come up. They just come up on my feed and they go, "Oh, they've done one." I don't really like look for them when it comes up. It's
Yeah,
like, "Oh, cool, what's that?" And then only like I don't know, 10 minutes, aren't they? But they're pretty cool.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Like,
right, go on.
no, I sort of lost my train of thought. I was going to say something about. Oh yeah, the Criterion, because there's so much stuff. Like, I wish I had enough money just to carte blanche with these and buy everything that's the classic
Yeah,
film stuff.
yeah,
I was getting pretty well caught up with the Indicator ones. They put out about once a month an old limited edition old film, like classic film with a booklet and everything, and they're
yeah,
really really well made. And then they do about two or three, or maybe no, actually 3 or 4 box sets a year. So it's just, and I'm way behind, like I'm years behind getting those. But
yeah,
I did go through, because I did have DVDs and I had to sell a lot of them before, and I've sold a lot of the silent ones, and I know they haven't been reissued in Blu-ray, which is bad, because now they're out of print and the prices are extortionate. But I went through once I was starting to work again, and the Criterion is just all these places. I just bought all the silence that they were putting out, just every
yeah.
silent,
Just in
because
case they're not available anymore.
yeah, and a lot of them
Yeah,
have gone out of print now. And
yeah,
then once I had all the silence, then I started going and looking for other um, classic films, because with especially the year of the plague, as I call it, because I was working from home when I was still working, and so I was saving like 200 and some pounds a month for taxis and everything. So I just bought Blu-rays and some books. So I just put that all into that. So I spent a lot of money on Blu-rays.
so I've just spilled my Coke all over myself. That's really good. I'll have to sort that out later.
That's the blooper reel.
I'm all wet. Um, I was basically trying to move my foot away from Ralph, who could be a visual treat if I put him on saying Margaret's going, oh, I could actually watch the screen if Ralph's there, but he wouldn't like it. He'd growl at me. So I moved my foot away from him, and then I completely forgot that I'd put my Coke in between my lap, and it's just gone everywhere. That's nice. What a dramatic way of finishing our show,
Yeah.
of having Coke all over our settee.
Oh, excuse me.
um, but yeah, I mean, it's just that lovely idea of having unlimited funds to buy tons of Criterion collections and all these different special editions, Arrow films as well.
Yeah, well, see, Arrow, I'm very selective with those, because they do a lot of stuff like the like the Dario Argento, and I don't
Yeah,
mind that stuff, but I would not probably buy a lot of that kind of thing. And there's a lot of these,
and like indie horror and like
yeah, yeah,
indie
yeah,
like
yeah,
crazy shit as well, like just like
yeah,
mad films. They do the Arrow just to
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Uh,
Criterion, when they do the classic films, even if they're non-English language ones, I'm interested in those, but more recent ones, not so much.
yeah,
The it's the same as Masters of Cinema, Eureka Films.
yeah,
Anytime they
yeah,
do the classic one, I want that. I want it. You
yeah.
know,
Eureka do lots of British films, don't they?
yeah, yeah, and
Uh,
even they do a lot of Japanese stuff too. They've been doing a lot of
yeah,
modern, very modern, like recent Japanese stuff that I'm not particularly interested in. And then
yeah.
there's indicator film, which is sort of nudged its way ahead of Eureka for my favorite because
Okay.
the way they do things. Because they like, I'll pull this out, and the LaRue, and they're in digipacks,
Yeah,
and I love the way when they
there's
do
so
the
much there.
digipacks.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you
No,
got,
so the presentation's part of it because like you say, it's expensive and you want a nice product. And if it
yeah,
looks really nice and you've got a really nice booklet and it's got that sort of fold out photos and all that stuff, it's really cool, isn't it?
yeah,
They
yeah,
get does that got postcards in it or something as well? Like
yeah. Some of them do. Yeah, I've got ones that have postcards in,
yeah, I like that.
and like here's the booklet. It's a thick book, but it's
Yeah,
awesome.
that is awesome. That is literally a book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and some of the Eureka ones do the same thing. Like I've got ones that are like 150-page books.
yeah, that is
That
awesome.
are part of this, and then it's hard to get this back in. I'm Steve Donahue getting something in his slipcase. But yeah, it's the French one. Like French do really nice packages with box sets, and you can buy something like who's the director of Seven Samurai?
Akira
Yeah,
Kurosawa.
the French have massive, like everything he's done in a box set.
Yeah,
Nobody
yeah, the
else
way,
does.
yeah, that's not everything. You can get like box sets of like about 8 of his films together, but
Yeah,
yeah, if they got everything he's done, that's pretty cool. Yeah,
yeah. They have these massive box sets, but
yeah,
they it's not some problems with the French stuff is they won't dub it into English, not dub it, but they won't put subtitles in English on
no,
their stuff.
yeah, yeah.
But
Well, I
when it's
suppose it, yeah,
American film or British film, and it doesn't have French subtitles, you see reviews, they just go nuts about that that they don't have
yeah.
the French subtitles, but they won't do it for the English.
Japanese one. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Um, yeah. I'll tell you what though, I wish that places like HMV would rack the whole films in like the films in alphabetical order rather than company order. So when they have
Okay.
like, they'll put arrows together, they'll put Criterion together, and they're like, well, I don't necessarily know what company has released that particular film, so I'd rather all the special editions were together by film, because you
Yeah.
just want to scan. You know what I mean? You'll look, go, oh, that's not come out, and then you go, oh no, it has come out. It's from this guy instead of this. That's a bit.
Yeah, well, it makes you look through more stuff, and then you're
Yes,
hoping you find something else. Well,
yeah,
what's
yeah. Well, that's
the other company that there was? It closed up for a while. They sold books as well. What was the name of it? There was and actually HMV bought it and reopened it.
FOP. Do you mean FOP?
Yeah, FOP. Yeah,
I love.
uh,
If you go in FOP, especially the one in London, in Shaftesbury Road, Shaftesbury Avenue, Shaftesbury Road. Um, that's amazing, and you can definitely find loads of great Blu-rays and DVDs and then they're quite cheap as well. Some of them aren't. Some of them are
yeah,
crazy money, but yeah, FOP is fantastic for getting
yeah.
films.
I used to go to the Cambridge one a lot, like 8 years ago or what
Yeah,
whatever it was, and they had a lot of silent stuff. That's the thing.
yeah, yeah,
They had
yeah,
a lot of this, and you go in anywhere else, HMV just wouldn't have those. But then
yeah,
HMV
yeah. There's more
bought
in
it,
FOP.
but they kept that way of doing it. At least
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
but
I go when I go to London. I always want to go Forbidden Planet, and you walk up from FOP. So you get out at Charing Cross, you walk up Shaftesbury Road or Shaftesbury Avenue, I can't remember which one it is, and you can go in FOP before you get to Forbidden Planet. So that's my little routine when
so
I
it
go to
must be
London.
near where Foyles is as
Yeah,
well.
it
Then.
is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can do the three of them in just a few minutes between them. Yeah, it's quite cool actually that they're so close together. Yeah. So there's a comment here from Constance, Apuka, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Harvey was a puka.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
But I love this where when somebody somebody would come up to him, at least in the bar, and says, "What can I do for you?" And it's like, "Well, what would you have in mind?" You know.
Yeah.
And I really want a large photo of the picture. Like there's a scene where he gets Harvey painted and he puts it on the mantelpiece and he's standing proudly beside the picture. And I'd
Yeah,
love to have a nice still of that, framed. That
yeah,
would
yeah.
be great.
There's a reference to Harvey in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, there's a little joke. There's a bit when uh, um, Doctor Doom or whatever his name is, Doom, is looking for Roger Rabbit, and he's in this bar, and he is acting. Roger Rabbit is in the bar, but he's hiding in the other room. And then there's this guy at the bar says, "Yeah, I know where the rabbit is." And then it's like, "What are you talking about?" Oh, Judge Doom. That's it, Judge Doom. Um, and he says, "I know where the rabbit is." And he's like, "Oh, well, where is he?" And he's like, "Here he is. This is my friend Harvey." And then all the bar's laughing.
I don't remember. I saw that when it came out, and that's the only time I've seen it. I
Oh,
loved it, but I
I
haven't seen it
can't
since.
tell you how much I love it. I love it so much. So obviously, I'm a huge fan of animation films anyway, like especially the classic period and Warner Brothers stuff and all that Looney Tunes stuff. And I just think it's a work of genius, that film.
Well, what did there was a controversy when it came out, I think, on Laserdisc because it was a good enough definition that you could pause. And there's a scene where Jessica Rabbit, she exposes herself that they do stuff. And
Well, they kept it. I don't know if you know, but we probably do because you're Shawn Standfast. But they kept doing it with Betty Boop, didn't they? They
oh yeah,
kept the animators kept putting quite rude things in it just for a split second. You could see her knickers or whatever, that kind of thing. And in 1930s, that is
yeah.
very, very strong.
I
But
like Betty
yeah,
Boop. I like Betty
yeah,
Boop.
no, Betty Boop, Max Fleischer, absolutely incredible thing, absolutely amazing. And I love to because I now and again. So I've done it 4 times this year so far. And I think I'll be doing it again next year. I teach an animation unit, and one of the things that I teach, and I love talking about Max Fleischer and all that sort of stuff. It's great, and they actually do recognize the style because there was a game that came out recently which was based on Max Fleischer's style called
Oh,
Cuphead. So they go, "Oh, this is like Cuphead." I was like, "Yeah, yeah." Well, there you go. Influence. But yeah, Roger Rabbit was such an incredible film. Absolutely amazing. Straight over my head. A glimpse of stocking was looked at, and something shocking. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Um,
What's his name? What's I love his songs from the 20s and 30s. Oh, I can't think of his name. I know who it is, but I can't think of his name.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So quite that's the song, isn't it? A glimpse of stocking was looked on as something shocking.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
no, absolute cartoons. Oh, it's a Cole Porter song. Yeah,
Cole Porter. Yes.
yeah, yeah.
I couldn't think of his name. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I mean, the thing is, like Morris is even in a cartoon, but even in a cartoon, you can offend and shock, and because ultimately the whole point of personifying this stuff is that you see them as people. So Betty
Yeah.
Boop isn't just a drawing; it's a person. So if
Yeah.
it gets rude, then that's a rude woman, whatever.
Well,
So
Helen Kane, who I'm sure that's the name that did the
yeah,
voice of
the
Betty Boop.
voice of Betty Boop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and she did a lot of singing too. Like she did a lot of
yeah,
songs in the 20s and 30s, and
yeah,
then she did it in some of it in the style of Betty Boop as well.
yeah, yeah. The woman who sings Jessica Rabbit's song, which I think is just an amazing version of "Why Don't You Do Right." But I don't know if you know, but that's Spielberg's wife, Amy Irving, who sings that.
Oh, didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I say,
Uh,
I haven't seen that. I can't remember when it came out, but I remember seeing it in the cinema,
it was something
and
like 86 or something.
yeah, it's like that's the last time I've seen it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I've got a really, really vivid, it's one of my strongest memories of a cinema experience. When I was a kid, I went with about 4 mates. We all went to the cinema together, and literally we were buzzing like mad, walking back, like leaping about, quoting the film and going on about, oh, that scene when that happened, that scene. I remember how buzzed we were, like walking back from the cinema, how excited we were because we just loved it to death. And I've seen it
Oh,
about, I don't know, 30 times since then.
I just thought another question you should ask on your thing is, what's the first film that you saw in the cinema?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Oh, that's a really good shout. Um, and it's my first film is quite funny actually. Well, I say that I don't know for sure what it is. I think it's one of two things, and you're gonna freak out. When so maybe this should be the last question because you'll go off on one when I tell you what one of them is. And you might be suspecting what it might be just for me saying this. But what was your first film then that you went to see
Well,
in
again,
cinema?
it's one of two because where I grew up, like there was no cinema around. It was 100 and some miles away. So I saw either the Superman or Moonraker, and I'm not sure which
Ah,
one was
okay.
playing first because I saw those like within a week of each other. I can't remember which one, but
Yeah,
that was the first one. So it was like
that's
what,
cool.
78 was that? May have been.
Seven. Yeah, the original Superman is 78, I think. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Moonraker would have been around then. It might have been
Yeah, yeah,
79 though.
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if if they came out in the same year, but they were playing at the same cinema,
yeah,
and it could have been a year later because it was popular. But so I don't know which
yeah,
one was
yeah,
first.
yeah.
That's the thing.
I don't know why, but I've got it in my head that Spy Who Loved Me was 78. But I don't know. Would they have done him that close together?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I might just have made that up. Um, so yeah. So it's one of it depends. I was 6 when Star Wars came out, right? So I hope you're all right with me mentioning Star
Yeah,
Wars.
no, fine.
And obviously that completely changed my life. I had Star Wars all over my bedroom, bed sheets, wallpaper. I literally had my entire bedroom was Star Wars wallpaper. I was like, it was it was a major thing. So I was 6 when I saw Star Wars, but I don't know if that was the first thing because I think the first time I went to the cinema, I think, and I have to check the dates, but it was an amazing double bill. So I get this double bill. So Spider-Man: The Dragon's Challenge, right? So the Nicholas Hammond Spider-Man, and a double bill with ABBA the movie.
With what?
ABBA the movie.
Oh, ABBA. I didn't even know there was a. Okay.
Yeah, I went with my sister, and she's 4 years older than me. She took me to the cinema, and I'm sure that was probably the first one, but I need to check because it might be that saw Star Wars first because obviously 6 is pretty early to go to the cinema. Um, but yeah, it's a really good question because when it's obviously about how old you are, I guess, about what the first thing is, but it really does have such a huge impact because the cinema is such a unique experience. I think
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
and like I had already loved at that time. I was young. I was like 12 years old maybe, but I still liked these old films
Yeah,
because like I say, where I grew up, we're out in the country, and there was no cinema around. So we did have a TV, and it was just a black white TV that worked on a 12-volt battery for most of the time from a car. But my dad in the wintertime would stay up late at night to put wood in the stove to keep it warm because at 20 below it gets kind of cold. So, and on CBC after midnight they would play like the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, they would play old films.
right.
And a lot of times I was allowed to stay up, and my dad always watched those, so I watched that with him from day one that I can remember, seeing these films. So that's why I think I have a love of classic film, because it was probably it's some of the first movies that I remember seeing
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
this stuff. And
yeah,
then silence later, like I think probably some of the first silence was Charles Chaplin. I remember being 8 years old or something and doing like you had to go up and do a lecture thing or something like that, like talk about something. And
yeah.
I did research in the library on Charles Chaplin. And
Nice.
I'm like 7 or 8 years old,
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah. That's
silent
awesome.
film.
Yeah. I mean, we've been lucky in Portsmouth. Like when I was a kid, there was when I was really young, like when I was that age, when I was 6, there was 3 cinemas in Portsmouth. There was one down near me where I live now, that's not there anymore. There was one in the main town, and there was one in North End, which is like the sort of well, I guess the north part of Portsmouth. And now those, a lot of those are closed down, and now we've got this one big one in one of the shopping centres. But it was pretty cool that most of my life there's been at least 2 cinemas in Portsmouth. It's cool. So yeah, very easy to get to cinema.
Yeah, well, once I moved to Toronto and then Kitchener Waterloo before I came to the UK, there was always cinemas around, and I went fairly frequently. But it's just, again, I watched a lot of stuff that I wouldn't rewatch. I wouldn't watch again for
Yeah, yeah. But then
something.
I do think it's the experience of being there as well.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
well, that
You don't have to see an amazing film to have a good experience in the
no,
cinema.
no,
I think good
and
film, well, or okay films are good experiences in the
yeah,
cinema.
that's why, like, I there's so many of these films that I talked about I'd love to see in the cinema. Like, there
Yeah.
has some I've seen LaRue and cinema. I've seen not sure
Well,
what
the
else.
11 hours. That one that's 11 hours long.
No, that was
That was
uh
Greed, wasn't
5 or 7 hours, maybe that one.
it?
And then I saw Napoleon, and they're all with live music, and especially Napoleon,
Yeah.
where you get to see it with an orchestra. And I saw the original Ben Hur with Carl Davis as well,
All right.
with the
Okay.
full orchestra. It's just it's magical to see
It
this.
is, yeah, it is magical, and it's totally you lose it. They do this speech at the beginning of the cinema. Now you go and see it. It tells you to turn your phone off, and it says like, lose yourself in the magic of cinema, in the darkness, blah blah blah. And it's absolutely true. If people run with it and actually do that, and give cinema a chance, they'll be like, actually, that was amazing. I forgot all of what was happening, all the rest of my day. Just had this experience, and I was in there. I was fully immersed, and
Well,
I think it's
spellbound in the darkness. That's why I look at it.
Yeah. So I've got one of my ex-students here, Harry. Hello, Harry. Harry's had a very successful podcast that's just been his final project. I'm sure Harry won't mind me saying his final project in his university course. He's doing a thing about George Harrison, and apparently it's like really high in the podcast charts in the UK.
Oh,
So massive
cool.
congrats to Harry. He's doing really well with that. And he was well into George Harrison when I taught him. Margaret says, where was the North End again, Gareth? To be fair, I was as I was saying it, I thought this is a really stupid thing to say, but there we are. It was in the North End. What's this? COVID made me think we saw the end of theatres, but nothing can kill off. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, well, it's weird because that's worth talking about. That during COVID, what I worried about was the amount of people going, oh, I'm stuck at home and I'm quite enjoying this. I didn't realize how wonderful it would be to stay at home. I'm going to do this from now on. I was like, what? But I think people did change their mind, because I think people did. A lot of people like going out, and luckily it's not killed off cinemas, and a lot of people use it still. Although it depends on the film. Clearly, some people say, oh, cinemas are dying out or whatever, and then there'll be this massive film and everyone goes to see it. You go, oh, clearly people do want to see a film. It's just got to be the right film.
Yeah,
Often,
I wish I had easy access to somewhere like South Bank or the Barbican, because BFI, or other places, because BFI will do a series of these old films, or, like, an actor or a
yeah,
actress
yeah,
or director, and they'll move them around the country a little bit. and
Yeah,
I never have been able to sink in with any of those, and now I
yeah,
can. So I don't know where I would have to go here. I probably have. Oh, there must be something, I guess, in Whitby, I suppose, but
yeah.
or
Is that the
Salt,
closest town?
probably, yeah, or Saltburn, or even Redcar, I suppose. Like there must be cinemas there, I would think, but yeah, I couldn't get to them. I wouldn't be able to
Yeah,
get
you need
to them.
someone to take you, probably, isn't it, to drive
Yeah,
you around there.
and it, also I can't walk very far anymore, so I wouldn't
So
be
then,
able
so then they
to.
have to carry you in as well.
Yeah, basically, yeah,
Margaret says, "Love that immersion." Absolutely, yeah, the immersive experience of the cinema.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
You,
that's why, like, sitting for 7 hours in total for these films, like you do have a break to stretch your legs and stuff like this.
mm,
The time just really goes by. It's like
yeah,
when I got this LaRue, it's almost 7 hours. Like it's on several Blu-rays, but I sat. I had some food around me and
mm.
drink. The only thing that I actually needed was a catheter, so I wouldn't have to move. But I watched. I basically watched it nonstop for 7 hours. You
Yeah.
know.
Mark says you can get it from reading too. Absolutely, that's why we love talking about books as well.
Yeah.
Um, and she agrees that George Harrison is her favorite Beatle. He's a lot of people's favorite Beatle. The amount of people I've taught that have said that George Harrison was their favorite Beatle is interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
I like him for a variety of reasons. Paul McCartney's too pretentious, and John Lennon, in some ways too. Ringo's fun, but yeah, George Harrison.
Ringo's the luckiest man in the world. He's a good drummer, by the way.
Yeah,
Obviously, people will take the mickey out of his drumming, but he's a good drummer. But clearly, incredibly lucky to have met George, Paul, and John.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I am a huge fan of John and Paul. So uh, uh,
Well,
that's
I like some of their stuff. It's like, uh, I think one of Paul McCartney's best things is outside of the Beatles is Band on the Run.
yeah, great
That's
album. Yeah,
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 that is
um,
fabulous.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, we can talk forever about the Beatles, but yeah, he had the best voice in the Beatles. Yeah, some of the vocals he did were just incredible. Um, and he was the one that kind of, I don't know, he's a bit of an all rounder, really,
Yeah.
Paul McCartney, and very clever guy.
But when you get Harrison, you've got stuff that he did outside of it. The handmade films. You know,
Oh
uh,
God, yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
the Traveling Wilburys was
yeah.
just
Big fan of
absolutely
Traveling
fabulous.
Wilburys.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. He was kind of not necessarily involved, but connected to the Ruttles, wasn't he? He was like, because he
yeah,
was a mate of
yeah,
Eric Idle's, and he
yeah.
was sort of like involved in the. I think he might have helped produce it. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yeah, well, he did all of
Um,
it. Like there wouldn't be Life of Brian without
no, no, no.
Right.
How many films was George Harrison's thing, wasn't it? And there's a really good book that I read a little while ago about handmade films called "Very Naughty Boys" is what the book's called. And it's a really good book about how it came about and what they did and some of the financial troubles they got into and all that kind of thing. It's really cool. But yeah, no,
Yeah,
George Harrison, it was, and it was lovely because there's a famous interview where someone said to George, "Why did you put all this money into the Monty Python films?" And he went, "Well, because I wanted to see them."
yeah. Like,
It's just a perfect answer.
well, I like Michael Palin. He was talking one time on a radio interview, and he would take his kids to George Harrison's place to go swimming, in the pool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because the thing is, when you're in that kind of world, they're just ordinary people. They're not stars. They're not, and lots of other people would be starstruck, but clearly Python members are not going to be starstruck necessarily. I mean, sometimes they are, but yeah, do you know what I mean? It's a different way of life, isn't it? And then Harry just says, "Thanks so much." Yeah, yeah, we've reached number 16, the number 16 in the charts. That's so good.
Wow, that's really
So well done, mate. Because he's still at university. He's still like, at the start of his enormous career in music. He's a very talented musician, Harry, and he's done this awesome podcast. This is great. So well done, Harry. Right, so we're losing some viewers, so maybe we've done our top 10. We've chatted a little bit about cinema in general, which is great. Thank you so much, Shawn. It's been a very cool episode. Say again.
Thanks for having me for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a nice chatting it. And also, it's worth mentioning, as Shawn's on screen, that the first ever live stream I did, I asked Shawn to do it with me, and it was like a Q&A. I think I had 500 subs or something like that. I think it was. And you sort of shared the screen with me to kind of make me feel a little bit better at what I was doing. And that was a long time ago now. Was that about 3 years ago?
Yeah, that's pretty well. Yeah, it's amazing how time has gone.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for watching, everybody. And I'm back on the thing now because I didn't explain why I didn't do it for ages. Shall I tell you the stupid reason why I didn't do it for ages? Okay. The first one was with Mark from Book Time with Elvis, right? And he very kindly made a thumbnail for me, right? And he's really good at thumbnails.
Yeah.
Does he do your ones?
Yeah, the original series. Yeah, he sort of got AI to do the more recent ones.
Okay.
He puts the wording on because it's a lot of work to do it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't want anybody spending too much time now.
Right. So he did this really awesome one for the first one. I was like, oh, that's amazing. And obviously he was the guest, so he was doing it for himself in a way as well. So it was like, brilliant. Thanks so much, Mark. Blah, 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 blah. And then when it came to the second one with Nick, I was like, oh, well, I can't do that. And then I sort of I mulled over it for ages. I tried to do it myself and it just wasn't going anywhere. And I really sheepishly said to Mark, can you do me another one, please? I know it's not your show, but is that okay? He was like, yeah, no worries. And he made me one for Nick's one. And then it came to and it felt like the thumbnail was really important because the first one was so good. The first thumbnail was so good. And then when I did the third one with Jack, I was again going, well, I can't ask Mark because it's just not fair. So I was thinking I need to try and so I had another go at it, failed again, and then I asked my daughter to help me, and she helped me with the one with Jack. And then I thought, right, I'm not going to do another one until I sort this out and actually learn how to use this stuff. And it's taken that long to learn how to use Canva to do a good thumbnail. So there we are. It's a really stupid reason, really, but that was the biggest reason. So there we go. So I'm back on it now.
Yeah, I don't do it. Like if I do the thumbnails, I just grab a picture and just crop that and just throw it on.
Yeah. Well, that was what I was doing for years, and now I feel like I can be a bit more creative now. But yeah, there we are. So keep watching Shawn's Desert Island Books because that's back now. It's a very awesome series.
Sundays at 9 p.m. And I will be back. I was concerned about StreamYard, but I'll be back on Sunday with Jenny Parks this time.
With Jenny, it's a rare appearance because she's got a channel, but it took us ages to persuade her to do a channel, wasn't it? And she doesn't do loads of videos, so it's great that we've got Jenny up there. So Mara's got the last word. Ciao. Thanks a lot, everybody. See you later. Thanks, Shawn. Ciao.